Chapter 699. Under the activation of Qin Xingyu's transcendence energy, the black yin qi continued to condense, turning into black light balls one after another. 8 black light balls occupied 8 different directions, and then, they shot out dazzling black light at the same time, attacking Zhou Yunsong, who was in the middle. It seemed like a simple siege, but Zhou Yunsong had a feeling that the whole world was his enemy. It was as if the whole world had become his enemy for a moment, and they were launching an overwhelming attack on him. His communication with the spiritual qi in the outside world seemed to be blocked, and he was in a desperate situation. In the celestial Great Hall, the group of nascent divinity big shots who were watching the battle had a look of interest on their faces. Oh! Isn't this the mystic Yin 8 Wastelands technique derived from the clear pure Yin treasure record? The clear pure Yin treasure record was the top great Tao technique of Taishu Temple, which was opposite to the pure Yang mystic heart technique. It was one of the most suitable techniques for cultivators with pure Yin body to cultivate in the world. In the past, if Luo Qinggu had become a disciple of Taishu Temple, she would have cultivated this Tao technique. And the foundation technique that Qin Xingyu cultivated was the Void Yin Tao. After he had mastered the Void Yin Tao and attained nascent divinity, he could have cultivated the clear pure Yin treasure record at the same time. But obviously, it was not the case now. This was the mystic Yin pure Yin treasure record that Qin Xingyu had used after he had transformed all of his transcendence energy into the pure Yin qi, and he had performed the clear pure Yin treasure record on his own. It showed that he had an amazing understanding of Tao techniques. Facing the attack of the mystic Yin 8 Wastelands technique, Zhou Yunsong's expression did not change in the slightest. He calmly dealt with it. The black smoke-like burning Yang qi collided head-on with the black Yin qi and destroyed the attacking black Yin qi. He did not fall into a disadvantageous position at all. What made the other young cultivators who were watching the battle in the Great Law Hall gradually palpitate was that the murderous look in Zhou Yunsong's eyes was getting heavier, and it also made his temperament become colder and fiercer, which made people tremble in fear. The overbearing burning Yang qi continuously turned into black saber qi, breaking through the siege and blockade of the mystic Yin 8 Wastelands technique. Gradually, it was about to completely destroy the technique that Qin Xingyu had performed. The horrifying black saber qi had already started to attack Qin Xingyu. Qin Xingyu had put all his attention and magic power into the profound Yin 8 Desolation wonderful technique, which greatly weakened the defense of his main body. At this time, when he faced Zhou Yunsong's burning sun qi, he began to be surrounded by perils. However, his expression was still calm. He just stared at Zhou Yunsong with a slightly strange gaze. Qin Xingyu launched the abstruse escape technique of clear sky circulation to evade Zhou Yunsong's burning sun blade qi. At the same time, black and white airflows separated from his body. As soon as the white yang airflows appeared, they turned into black Yin qi and continuously replenished the mysterious Yin 8 Wastelands. A wave of Yin and Yang was born, and boundless Tao art concepts flowed out from within. It was profound to the extreme. When the Taishu Temple cultivators saw this, a smile appeared on their faces. Yin and Yang are infinite, indestructible. Senior brother Chen has cultivated the Yin and Yang Tao of the void to this level. He is not afraid of being in a stalemate for a long time. That's right. As long as this Zhou Yunsong doesn't find a chance to use his burning sun vitality shattering technique, senior brother Chen's foundation of transcendence energy will definitely be much stronger. Although Zhou Yunsong's burning sun qi is strong, this kind of transcendence energy path with explosive power will definitely not last long. Even if his transcendence energy is strong and can support a long battle of transcendence energy, he is still inferior to senior brother Chen in terms of consumption. As the outstanding disciples that the Taishu Temple had painstakingly nurtured, Fan Xiefeng and the others naturally had good judgment. Their judgment of the situation was also very accurate. Zhou Yunsong indeed had more than 3 tricks up his sleeve. Because after forming his gold core, he would directly face the tribulation of Yin fire, which was unpredictable. Therefore, under Yang Qing's control, he had always suppressed his cultivation to the late stage of foundation establishment and had stayed there for a very long time. Although the consumption of burning sun qi was huge, Zhou Yunsong could sustain it for a very long time. he was not afraid of a fierce battle. However, as a foundation establishment cultivator, no matter how strong his transcendence energy was, there would still be a limit. If he were to fight a long battle, he would still be inferior to Qin Xingyu, who had comprehended the yin-yang transformation infinite Tao. Zhou Yunsong knew his own matters the best. Therefore, when he saw that Qin Xingyu was avoiding the battle and was wholeheartedly depleting his transcendence energy, he understood Qin Xingyu's plan. Duo. A cold light flashed in Zhou Yunsong's eyes. With a low shout, the fierce and overbearing burning sun qi was suddenly completely withdrawn. While everyone was stunned, they saw that the black smoke-like burning sun qi surrounding Zhou Yunsong's body had actually completely reversed and turned back into the golden true fire of the sun. It was not surprising that he was able to do this. He was able to control the burning sun qi and turn it back into yang transcendence energy. This was something that should be done. Otherwise, all these years of cultivation would have been in vain. He would have burned himself to death because of the spontaneous combustion of his yang qi. However, when he was in a fierce battle with Qin Xingyu, he suddenly gave up the powerful burning sun qi. This was something that people could not understand. Only Qin Xingyu's eyes flashed and a slightly dignified expression appeared on his face. In the next moment, the true fire of the sun around Zhou Yunsong's body underwent a further change. However, it did not burn into black smoke. Instead, it turned into white streams of air. Impressively, it was the purest yang qi. It was brimming with a warm and blazing aura. As soon as this yang qi came into contact with the yin qi brilliance of Qin Xingyu's profound yin 8 desolation technique, it immediately entangled with each other. Zhou Yunsong spread his hands to the sides and formed a completely different incantation gesture with each hand. Then, he clasped them together in front of his chest. Su Yunsheng and Ning Luoza, who had already returned to the VIP room where the disciples of the Qian Tian Palace had gathered, revealed a surprised expression and said in unison, "Fifth martial uncle's Tao reversal yin-yang." The technique that Zhou Yunsong was currently using was the self-created technique that his master, Yang Qing, had comprehended from the 8 trigrams Great Way after forming the golden elixir. Li Xingfei, Lu Xiafeng, Zhuge Wanqiu, and the others who were watching the battle also had shocked expressions on their faces. This was because none of them, the second-generation disciples, could successfully cultivate a technique like the Tao reversal yin-yang qi. In addition to the 8 arts of heaven and earth, the 8 trigrams orthodox fist, and other basic divine powers of the sect, they also cultivated the 8 trigrams evolution sage golden scripture, the ultimate true scripture of the heavens, and the understanding of wind and thunder. Some of them had also figured out some divine powers by themselves, such as Ing Luoza. Some of them had successfully cultivated divine powers derived from these branches of Tao techniques. For example, Li Xingfei cultivated the extreme path of the netherworld finger, while Lu Xiafeng and the others cultivated the true fire of the sun. However, Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, and the others had comprehended the 8 trigrams Great Way of the heavens, the 8 trigrams disintegration, the sword of change, the finger of the netherworld, and the other divine powers. Generally speaking, there were 2 ways to cultivate them. The first was to wait until they had also received the teachings of the 8 trigrams Great Way of the heavens, and then there was hope for them to learn these divine powers. Those with outstanding comprehension might also be able to comprehend and summarize their own divine powers based on the Taoist scripture. The second was to wait until their cultivation base was higher and they had a deeper understanding of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Even if they did not cultivate the Taoist scripture, it was still possible for them to cultivate divine powers such as the finger of the netherworld. Under normal circumstances, they had to wait until they reached the core formation stage. The same principle applied to Yang Qing's Tao reversal yin-yang qi. But now, Zhou Yunsong was impressively displaying this powerful divine spell. In the end, did 5th martial uncle teach him the 8 trigrams Great Way of the heavens, or did he have amazing comprehension that surpasses us? For a moment, all the Xianmen Tianzong's true disciples were a little absent-minded. They stared blankly at the cold and ferocious young man in the arena. Under the effect of the Tao reversal yin-yang qi, it entangled with Zhou Yunsong's yang qi and dharma power. Qin Xingyu's yin qi and dharma powers suddenly shook violently. Yin and yang reversed, and the great Tao returned to its original state. Qin Xingyu's continuous casting of his yang qi into yin qi was immediately disrupted. The transformation of yin and yang, and the endless perfect balance, was immediately broken. The extreme yin qi once again turned into two streams of qi, one black and one white. The profound yin 8 desolation wonderful technique also dissipated into nothingness. Zhou Yunsong shouted. In an instant, he had already burned all his dharma power, turning it into the extremely ferocious burning sun-breaking qi. It was like an extremely ferocious demon god had descended into the human world. However, at this moment, Qin Xingyu's dharma power shook again. Under the interference of the Tao reversal yin-yang qi, it still stubbornly turned into extreme yin qi. It re-established the balance between yin and yang, and blocked Zhou Yunsong's burning sun-breaking qi. Since the start of the battle, Zhou Yunsong, who had been indifferent and calm, finally showed a surprised expression on his face. He looked at Qin Xingyu with some surprise. In the All Heavens Palace, Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and the others were also slightly stunned. They turned their heads to look at Yang Qing. They knew that Yang Qing's Tao reversal yin-yang qi seemed peaceful, but it was actually extremely overbearing. Any opponent in the same realm would be affected. Luo Qingwu's pure yin body, or the Taishu Temple's Ding Ruanfeng's pure yang body, could not completely avoid it. The rare exception was Yang Qing's perfect yin-yang balance physique, or Zhou Yunsong's more extreme burning sun body, which could not be affected. There's still another situation. On the main seat, Lin Feng tapped his finger on the armrest. He looked slightly surprised. He looked at Qin Xingyu with interest and said with a smile, since there's a burning sun body like Yun Song, there's naturally an extreme yin body. Just like how the pure yang body and the pure yin body were like two polar opposites of heaven and earth, the burning yang body also had its opposite, and that was the absolute yin body. Those who possessed the absolute yin body would innately condense their own yin qi and turn it into absolute yin qi. If they didn't deal with it in time, they would first freeze to death. Therefore, the absolute yin body was as rare as the burning yang body. But correspondingly, if a person with an absolute yin physique cultivated a yin attribute Tao art, then it would possess a unique advantage as well. The absolute yin qi that one cultivated to a certain level would even possess peerless might, and it was capable of completely condensing and obliterating the yin qi of one's opponent and destroying it into nothingness. Lin Feng's gaze turned to Lin Daohan and Yan Mingyue and said with a smile, "Congratulations to Taishu Temple for getting such a good disciple." Speaking of which, he and Yang Qing, the master and disciple, taught Zhou Yunsong and the Taishu Temple taught Qin Xingyu. Great minds think alike. Although Zhou Yunsong and Qin Xingyu's physique were most suitable to walk the pure yang or pure yin path, Lin Feng and Taishu Temple both chose the yin-yang path for them. Zhou Yunsong learned Tao from Yang Qing. Qin Xingyu also cultivated the void yin-yang path and not the clear pure yin treasure record. Lin Daohan smiled faintly, "I've let the master of Xian Men see a joke. My disciple still has many areas that he needs to improve. The battle with your sect's little friend Zhou is a rare gain for him." Xianmen Tianzong and Taishu Temple both laughed without restraint. Although the other big shots also had a smile on their faces, some people could not help but whisper in their hearts, thinking that there would be a good show to watch in the future. Just like Zhou Yunsong's pure yang body and innate fire spirit body, Qin Xingyu's extreme yin body was also the nemesis of Luo Qingwu's pure yin body. Chapter 700. On Xianmen Tianzong's side, Xiao Yan and the other disciples turned to look at Luo Qingwu, but they did not look worried. Instead, they teased her, "Little junior sister, it's fortunate that your closed-door training this time was successful. Otherwise, you'd be in trouble." Luo Qingwu raised her eyebrows slightly and smiled, "Before I mastered the fifth sword, it was indeed a headache to meet this person. But now that I've mastered the fifth sword, there's nothing to worry about." Xiao Yan shook his head and smiled, "Tsk, it's a pity that this Qin Xingyu entered the top 4. Otherwise, if he challenged you, we'd be able to watch a good show." Luo Qinggu chuckled, fighting with him is not completely worthless. Maybe it can help me further perfect the fifth sword. Xiao Yan's expression was a little gloating. If it wasn't for Yun Song using the yin-yang inverse Tao, I'm afraid he wouldn't have exposed himself. This young man is quite shrewd, he actually didn't show any signs of it before. In the second stage, he doesn't fight with others and tries his best to avoid complicated battles, so that the situation is under his control. It's not like he didn't plan to hide his absolute yin body. He looks quite cheerful, but I didn't expect him to be so scheming. Wang Lin looked at Xiao Yan. Looking at this person's actions, he did deliberately hide his absolute yin body, but his target might not be little junior sister. Xiao Yan nodded his head. That's right, just now I was also teasing little junior sister. But this Qin Xingyu's actions should be a spontaneous action and not the Void Temple's incitement. It's just that his sect listens to his decisions. Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, and the others nodded in unison. Lin Feng, who was sitting on the main seat, listened to the disciples' discussion and smiled without saying a word. He did not expect Qin Xingyu to have the absolute yin body, but it was not too surprising, and he did not feel caught off guard. Ever since Zhou Yunsong was picked up by Zhu Yi and Yang Qing and became a disciple of Xianmen Tianzong, Lin Feng actually had a rough idea in his heart. With the blazing yang physique, it was naturally possible to have the extreme yin physique. Although the possessors of these two physiques could easily die a tragic death due to their own strength, it was rare for someone to survive and embark on the path of cultivation. But if there was a first, there would be a second. Since Zhou Yunsong could survive, someone with an absolute yin body could also survive. If it was not Qin Xingyu, it could be Zhao Xingyu, Qian Xingyu, Sun Xingyu, or Li Xingyu. This had happened before in history, which was why there were records of it in historical records. However, Lin Feng did not expect that Zhou Yunsong and Qin Xingyu would coexist in the same era, and that Qin Xingyu would be accepted as a disciple of Taishu Temple. As for Qin Xingyu growing into an outstanding cultivator under the guidance of Taishu Temple, that was something inevitable. Lin Feng stared at the two people who were facing each other in the illusion of light and shadow, and thought to himself, could there be some other trick in this? This little guy hiding the secret of his absolute yin body seems to have some meaning. It gives me the feeling that if it wasn't for Yun Song's yin-yang inverse Tao, he wouldn't have exposed his secret even if he was defeated by Yun Kang. Lin Feng smiled leisurely. Interesting. There are many interesting juniors in this year's assembly. Inside the Great Law Hall, Qin Xingyu's expression was calm. After a flash of pity in his eyes, he returned to normal. He raised his eyes to look at Zhou Yunsong, and an even more dazzling light burst out from his eyes. He drew a deep breath, and the swirling black yin energy around his body abruptly vanished without a trace. In the next moment, a dark blue mist floated around his body, and there was a pale white light shining faintly in the mist. It really is the absolute yin qi. The big shots in the all-heaven Great Hall nodded. They knew that this was the absolute yin qi that Qin Xingyu obtained after condensing all of his yin energy into nirvana. Compared to Zhou Yunsong's burning yang qi, it was also an incomparably powerful and ferocious divine ability. It was not as ferocious and domineering as the burning yang qi, but it was more profound and heavy. Qin Xingyu straightened his index and middle fingers like a sword and pointed them at Zhou Yunsong. In an instant, an icy blue absolute yin qi turned into a sharp sword energy and shot toward Zhou Yunsong. Zhou Yunsong gave Qin Xingyu a deep look. The yang energy around him was instantly incinerated and turned into burning yang qi to meet Qin Xingyu's absolute yin qi. The black saber energy and the blue sword energy collided in midair. The blue sword energy was incinerated like smoke and disappeared without a trace. On the other hand, the black saber energy was also frozen into ice crystals. In the next moment, it turned into dust and disappeared. Qin Xingyu formed a hand seal with his hand. His eyes were calm and emotionless, but there was a faint blue light flickering in them. The icy blue mist continued to condense and compress, turning into an icy blue ray of light. Within the ray of light, there was a pale and dim light flickering faintly. The cultivators who were watching the battle in the Great Law Hall took a deep breath after being informed by the elders of their respective families. They understood that the icy blue ray of light was the next step of Qin Xingyu's absolute yin qi, the absolute yin infernal baleful qi. Just like Zhou Yunsong's burning yang qi, it had the power of void fragmentation realm which could destroy the yin and yang of heaven and earth. It could destroy the magic power of the enemy's ability. Once it invaded the enemy's body, it could even condense and extinguish the enemy's own yin qi. It was the nemesis of all yin qi in heaven and earth. Just like Zhou Yunsong, as Qin Xingyu's cultivation base became higher and higher, the power of this peerless ability which was like an innate talent would also continuously increase and become stronger. At this moment, the battle between Zhou Yunsong and Qin Xingyu had become extremely dangerous. Once one of them was injured by the opponent's magic power, it was highly possible that it would cause irreparable damage to the foundation of one's body. Qin Xingyu chanted slowly, "Infinite yin and yang, void law realm." Both of his hands kept changing the hand seals. The absolute yin infernal baleful qi that looked like an icy blue ray of light began to revolve around Zhou Yunsong. In an instant, it formed an icy blue small world which enveloped Zhou Yunsong. Layers of space overlapped each other, as if it had turned into a huge ancient bell which fell from above. This is another great ability of the void yin-yang Dao other than the yin-yang crushing heaven and earth grinder. The eyes of Fan Xiafeng and the other disciples of the Taishu temple lit up. Using the power of the void to form a wondrous world and suppress the enemy. After that, using the endless power of yin and yang to refine the enemy. This was another great ability of the void yin-yang Dao. It was called the yin-yang infinite void wondrous world. It was not as violent as the yin-yang crushing heaven and earth grinder. However, it was more stable and did not give the opponent a chance to resist. However, Fan Xiafeng and the rest could quickly tell that the spell that Qin Xingyu cast was different. The magic power that he used to refine Zhou Yunsong was not the power of yin and yang, but his absolute yin infernal baleful qi. If he used the power of yin and yang, it would only be incinerated by Zhou Yunsong's burning yang vitality shattering qi. However, this move of Qin Xingyu made the group of primordial spirit bigwigs feel slightly amazed. Although it's just a simple substitution, and the foundation is still the yin-yang infinite void wondrous world, to be able to make such an improvement, this kid's understanding of the paths, skills, and divine abilities is already rather profound. Qin Xingyu's icy blue pocket world was no longer a pure yin-yang infinite void wondrous world, but a space essence nirvana absolute yin world that belonged solely to him. Using the space essence nirvana absolute yin world to envelop Zhou Yunsong, Qin Xingyu's absolute yin infernal baleful qi began to forcefully suppress him, constantly whittling away at Zhou Yunsong's magic power. As long as Zhou Yunsong revealed the slightest flaw, he would be injured by the absolute yin infernal baleful qi. Nearly endless icy blue streams of light swirled and danced in the pocket world. Although it was light, it gave off a dark and gloomy contradictory feeling. It made the pocket world seem like it had transformed into hell. It was cold, dark, lonely, and made one feel despair. Any life form that was placed in such a world could only return to the nirvana void. Zhou Yunsong stood in the absolute yin hell, his eyes turning colder. The bloodlust around him was so thick that it seemed to condense into a physical form. The burning sun destruction qi around his body became more and more violent and ferocious. He raised his right hand high and clenched it into a fist. Endless black light constantly condensed in his right hand and compressed it further, revealing a terrifying feeling that it was about to explode. It was as if a star had reached its end and was about to explode. It was the magic technique that instantly shattered Yang Likuan's immortal divine light of heavenly path, eternal Yang heavenly explosion. In the next instant, countless extremely condensed burning sun destruction qi exploded and bombarded the absolute yin infernal baleful qi in the space essence nirvana absolute yin world. The terrifying explosive power was displayed incisively and vividly at this moment. Even the absolute yin infernal baleful qi, whose quality was not inferior to the burning sun destruction qi, was forced to continuously retreat. The whole pocket world shook and swayed as if it would collapse at any time. Qin Xingyu frowned slightly. He could no longer care about refining Zhou Yunsong with the absolute yin infernal baleful qi. Instead, he focused on stabilizing his space essence Nirvana Absolute In world. In Zhou Yunsong's cold and indifferent eyes, there seemed to be flames flashing, turning crimson red. His entire body began to tremble and black smoke rushed out from his body. More and more black light surrounded Zhou Yunsong's body. It was even more terrifying than when he had used the eternal yang heavenly explosion. 9 black lights attached themselves to Zhou Yunsong's body. They rose and fell, sometimes transforming into 9 dragon shadows, sometimes transforming into 9 blazing suns. They were not released, but merely the power gathered together caused the space essence Nirvana Absolute In world to shake more and more violently, as if it would collapse in the next moment. Chen Xingyu looked at this scene, his eyes bursting with an unprecedented brilliance. In the next moment, his expression returned to calm. He looked at Zhou Yunsong and silently said, "This battle, I have lost." Zhou Yunsong's eyes were completely red as he stared fixedly at Chen Xingyu. After a long while, the restless burning yang primordial shattering qi gradually calmed down. The crowd of cultivators watching the battle in the spreading law hall were all silent. They were still immersed in the shock of the battle just now. Although it was only a short moment of time, and although it ended with Chen Xingyu taking the initiative to admit defeat, it did not have the feeling of a strong start and a weak finish. Zhou Yunsong's final, powerful attack that he had prepared at the last moment caused all the young cultivators of the major forces to tremble in fear. Not to mention the Foundation establishment cultivators, even the cultivators of the Golden Elixir period had grave expressions. The finals, it's another internal battle between the disciples of Xianmen Tianzong. Someone said bitterly. The people beside him felt like they had just woken up from a dream inside. Their last hope, Chen Xingyu, had also been defeated by Zhou Yunsong. The final first place of the Dharma Assembly had already fallen into the hands of Xianmen Tianzong. In the All-Heaven Hall, Lin Feng first looked at Lin Daohan and smiled slightly. "Thank you for letting me win." On the other side, Shen Qifeng of the Reincarnation Sect's Heavenly Tao was silent for a while and said, "Xianmen Tianzong's disciple is indeed extraordinary. I admit defeat." As he spoke, he opened his palm, and the feather spirit vine planted in the small world floated toward Lin Feng. Lin Feng silently looked at the floating light shadow in front of him. His eyes flashed slightly and he laughed in his heart. "This pit you dug is really. Now I am more and more interested to know who is standing behind you." Chapter 701. Even though he still had doubts in his heart, Lin Feng still accepted the feather spirit vine without hesitation. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. The prerequisite was that one's own strength had to continuously grow in order to be the master and not be moved by the outside world. Looking at it this way, I'm only missing 2 ingredients to refine the 33 Heavens Fortune Celestial Pill. One of them is the Galaxy Purple Zoisha Pill, but the other, Condensed Crystal Pill, only exists in legends. There are no clues even after searching the world. Lin Feng thought to himself, the only record of Condensed Crystal Pill is said to only exist in the Penglai immortal realm of the 3 mountains of Yingxi. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly, glancing at the Zhou dynasty's grand preceptor, the Marquis of Xuanji Zhu Hongguo, and thought to himself, I must make a trip to Yingxi. I only hope that there really is Condensed Crystal Pill in the Penglai immortal realm and I won't make this trip for nothing. Zhu Hongguo was a bit confused by Lin Feng's gaze. His brows slightly furrowed, then quickly relaxed and became calm again. Yu Hongyan turned to look at Yang Qing and said with a smile, "Fifth Junior, I remember that you only allowed Yun Song to use the burning sun shattering energy. You didn't say that he could use the 9 suns annihilation, right?" Yang Qing shook her head and sighed, "He can't use this move now, it's still too early." Luo Qinggu laughed lightly, looks like he was stimulated by Chen Xingyu's absolute yin qi. Li Yuanfang said very seriously, his ability to control his own mind still needs to be improved. Yu Hongyan shook his head and said, Yun Song's mind and willpower are both outstanding, but his constitution is too special. Using magical powers to the extreme will affect his mind. If it was someone else with a weaker mind, they would have long lost control. She looked at Chen Xingyu, who walked out of the arena with Zhou Yunsong. This person has an absolute Yin body and cultivates magical powers like absolute Yin infernal fiend. His mind will also be affected and he will become more and more cold and emotionless. It's all thanks to his good temperament and the teachings of the Taishu Temple that he can remain normal. Yang Qing smiled bitterly and said, "No matter what, after the spell assembly, I will continue to urge Yunsong to improve himself." Although they were criticizing Zhou Yunsong, they were very relaxed. Zhou Yunsong had successfully defeated Chen Xingyu and met Dao Yuding in the finals. This meant that Xianmen Tianzong had once again taken the top 2 places of this year's Dharma Assembly. No matter who won, the first place would belong to Xianmen Tianzong. Ever since Dao Yuding became the disciple of Xianmen Tianzong, she had been cultivating diligently. She had merged her original divine arts and techniques of Tianqi sect with the Dao system of Xianmen Tianzong, and she had improved to the next level. But the final result was that Zhou Yunsong had been going against the trend all the way to the top. His Burning Sun Qi fought against Dao Yuding's Yellow Spring True Water, and his Burning Sun Vitality Shattering technique used offense against offense to overwhelm and destroy the Ice Essence Burning Flame. The trump card that Dao Yuding had kept as a trump card, the Extreme Ice Spring. Although it had frozen Zhou Yunsong's Eternal Yang Heavenly Explosion, when Zhou Yunsong's 9 Suns Extinguishing technique appeared again, Dao Yuding immediately determined that if she used the Extreme Ice Spring, she still wouldn't be a match for him. Although she wasn't afraid of the Burning Sun Vitality Shattering technique, she wasn't a match for the explosive power of the 9 Suns Extinguishing technique. In the end, this peak duel between the second-generation direct disciples of Xianmen Tianzong ended with Zhou Yunsong's victory. Although Dao Yuding's cultivation had been suppressed to the late stage of foundation establishment, the current her was undoubtedly stronger than when she was in the late stage of foundation establishment. Dao Yuding's defeat signified that Zhou Yunsong had officially become the #1 disciple of Xianmen Tianzong's second-generation direct disciples in terms of magical powers. To become the leader of the same generation of disciples, many factors had to be considered. But in terms of pure combat, Zhou Yunsong was currently the #1 disciple of the second-generation direct disciples. This result was out of the expectations of most people present. Before the Dharma Assembly, no one had thought that this would be the result. This included many of Xianmen Tianzong's own disciples. They were all shocked. Marquis Jing Huan folded his folding fan and lightly tapped it against his palm. He shook his head and smiled. What an interesting little fellow. He turned his head and looked towards Wang Lu and Xiangheng. Grandmaster really has good eyesight. I now somewhat understand what he is planning. In the Great Qin Dynasty's VIP room, Shi Xingyun smiled slightly. Looks like these few years Daoist Yang Qing's cultivation has been slightly slow. He has indeed spent most of his energy on nurturing his disciples. To be able to nurture such a successor, his contribution to Xianmen Tianzong is already not small. In the Cellerita's Sword Sect's VIP room, Ancestor Ziyun's expression was somewhat complicated. He sighed and said, Xianmen Tianzong's talent has not been interrupted. There is a successor. Regardless of whether it is Su Yunsheng, Ying Luoza, or Lu Xiafeng, Li Xingfei, Zhuge Wanqiu and the others, they are all genius-level figures. Their existence guarantees Xianmen Tianzong's continued development and strength. Dao Yuding's performance also stunned everyone's eyes. It made the golden elixir cultivators feel great pressure. Ancestor Yuanying felt that it was coming aggressively. The other younger generation disciples could even more so only look up to it. But Zhou Yunsong's existence is an existence that even the primordial spirit big shots pay attention to just based on his foundation establishment stage cultivation. A young genius, a heaven-bestowed talent. As long as he doesn't die prematurely, he will definitely amaze an era. Zhou Yunsong's appearance made the others feel as if they saw the same shocking talent and great future on him as his seniors. Lin Feng felt the emotional changes of the people in the Hongfa Hall. He smiled in his heart. Of course. This is the seated contestant that I specially prepared for the second-generation disciples. If he isn't outstanding, I'm going to hit Xiao Qingzi's hand with a ruler. Thinking back to the time when Zhu Yi and Yang Qing brought Zhou Yunsong back, Lin Feng's mouth couldn't stop twitching when he saw him. One has 10 blessings and the other has 8 blessings. They really aren't fucking bragging. Root bone 9, comprehension 9, will 7, blessings 7. Conclusion, the target's talent is extremely high. It is recommended to take him in as a disciple and carefully teach him. He will definitely become a pillar of the sect. Zhu Yi and Yang Qing impressively picked up a monster with a total potential of 32 points in all 4 talents. At that time, it made Lin Feng speechless for a while. After thinking about it, Lin Feng didn't take Zhou Yunsong in as his disciple. His current mentality had gradually changed. He didn't want all the good seedlings to become his disciple. As long as he worshipped under the wall of Xianmen Tianzong, he would be carefully taught by a master to ensure that his talent wouldn't be wasted. If his own sect wanted to be passed down for thousands of generations and spread its branches and leaves, in addition to horizontal expansion, vertical development was also an aspect that must be considered. It was the right principle to have talented people in every generation. Therefore, in the end, Lin Feng didn't take Zhou Yunsong as a disciple. Instead, he let him go through the normal direct disciple examination process. In the end, Zhou Yunsong worshipped under Yang Qing's Nirvana paradise and became Yang Qing's only direct disciple. Lin Feng smiled and looked at Spreading Law Hall. In 2 different elegant rooms, many disciples were discussing spiritedly. Among them were Shi Tianhao's disciple Huang Zhenting and Zhu Yi's disciple Yang Tai. Looking at these 2 people, Lin Feng smiled with satisfaction. Compared to Zhou Yunsong, these 2 people were still in a state of immaturity. Therefore, they couldn't stand out in this spell meeting. But in fact, they were gradually showing their outstanding talent. Goldie and Yang Tai were also the second-generation disciples that Lin Feng had specially left behind. The total value of their 4 talents had reached 30. However, there were still all kinds of problems that needed to be solved. Goldie's childish temperament, compared to his seemingly innocent but actually black-bellied master when he was young, was much more simple. Even his mental age was a bit lower than his physical age. This caused a lot of Goldie's potential to be in a dormant state. On the other hand, Yang Tai entered the sect too late. Not long after he reached foundation establishment, he encountered the large competition. Moreover, in the first round of the large competition, he encountered Goldie, whose talent was not inferior to his, but whose cultivation level was much higher. He was also unwilling to attack Goldie together with the young beast, so the result was naturally a tragedy. There were many reasons that caused the 2 of them to not be as dazzling as Zhou Yunsong. But it doesn't matter. Good dishes are not afraid of being late. If other sects' cultivators look down on you, it won't be considered as my family deliberately preserving our strength. Lin Feng chuckled. His gaze pierced through the void and landed on the central hall of the Cloud Peak. But you 2 have to be careful. Don't let the latecomers overtake you. This is the 3rd time I've opened the sect, and I've reaped a great harvest. At this point, the final outcome of the spell meeting had been decided. However, it wasn't completely over yet. The spectating cultivators were also in high spirits. This was because the most legendary first-generation disciples of Xianmen Tianzong would also enter the stage to accept the challenges of the first round of the spell meeting. Among them, Su Yunsheng and Lin Tong were Xianmen Tianzong's disciples after all. Even if they were to challenge them, it was really the seniors guiding the juniors. Everyone's interest was focused on Lei Jia and Chu Yang. They wanted to know who they would challenge. Lin Feng's gaze turned and landed on his personal disciples. Xiao Yan and the others looked at each other with smiles on their faces. Most people's gazes were focused on Li Yuanfang and Luo Qingguo. After all, the 2 of them were the last to enter the sect and had the lowest cultivation. If someone wanted to make a name for themselves, the 2 of them would be the best targets. Xiao Yan smiled and used his transcendence energy to transmit his voice. Master, you're looking at us like this. Could it be that you already have an idea? Lin Feng smiled and also used his transcendence energy to transmit his voice. Tong will definitely pick you, and Yunsheng will pick Xiaoyi. There's nothing to guess. That Lei family's Lei Jie will give up the opportunity to challenge him. As for Beyond Heaven Mountain's Chu Yang, Lin Feng smiled soundlessly. He will definitely pick your junior sister. Luo Qinggu was somewhat baffled. That Lei Jie has been famous for a long time. He looks like a proud and arrogant person. Although I don't know why he took the initiative to concede when facing Chen Xingyu in a draw, it seems that he still considers himself to be on equal footing with us. He won't be willing to accept this kind of exchange of pointers between seniors and juniors. But that Chu Yang, why must he challenge Xiao Wu and not the other seniors? Lin Feng smiled but didn't answer. Let's see if I'm right or not. The facts proved that Lin Feng's guess wasn't wrong at all. Little Lin Tong chose his father, and Su Yunsheng also chose Zhu Yi. This could only be considered as a gesture of goodwill. As expected, Lei Jie gave up the right to challenge. And as expected, Chu Yang chose Luo Qinggu as his target. The matches between Lin Tong and Xiao Yan, and Su Yunsheng and Zhu Yi quickly ended. Luo Qinggu stood up from her seat, her beautiful eyebrows knitted together. He really chose Xiao Wu. How did Master see it so accurately? Chapter 702. Luo Qinggu looked at Lin Feng with some curiosity, wondering why her master was so sure that Chu Yang would choose her as his opponent. But she saw Lin Feng's expression look like a smile that wasn't a smile as he transmitted, "Xiao Wu, do you still remember what master has warned you to pay attention to all these years?" Luo Qinggu's heart thumped. Lin Feng's warning immediately floated to her mind. In this world, there are some grown men who favor young girls like you, always thinking of ways to deceive you, wanting to harm you. When you meet such people, you have to keep a respectful distance, don't listen to their flowery words. If he doesn't let it go, then show him a bit of power. If it really doesn't work, you can come find master. Your senior brothers aren't just for show. Luo Qinggu swallowed, looking at Chu Yang in the illusion, then at Lin Feng. Master, could it be that this person? Lin Feng smiled faintly. Now that you're an adult, you should know that this guy has been thinking about you since you weren't even 10. After a slight pause, Lin Feng said with certainty, it's not the kind of love an adult has for a child, but rather the improper thoughts between a man and a woman. Luo Qinggu immediately shivered, but Xiao Wu doesn't know him at all. That's why I say, this kind of goldfish is the most repulsive. Lin Feng sighed, and Luo Qinggu carefully asked, then. Xiao Wu's also grown up now, she shouldn't be in line with his interests anymore, right? Lin Feng smiled, he still chose you to challenge this time, what do you think? Luo Qinggu immediately had a bitter expression, and Xiao Yan at her side sneered, junior sister, what are you worried about? Just give him a heavy blow and everything will be settled. Xiao Wu naturally believes what master says. Luo Qinggu said, but if he doesn't show his vile side, if I hit him too hard and don't leave him any face, won't there be a misunderstanding with so many guests here? How to put it, Beyond Heaven Mountain is also a power close to our sect, making them lose face isn't too good, right? Xiao Yan smiled, silly girl, if it wasn't for the previous matter with Chen Xingyu, we would indeed have concerns in this aspect, but with Chen Xingyu revealing his extreme mean body, if you make a move, others will only think our sect is responding to Taishu Temple. Even the people from Beyond Heaven Mountain will at most think they're unlucky, thinking they're involved in a battle between us and Taishu Temple. Yu Hongyan at the side said coldly, this kind of person who likes young girls and catamites, it's good to teach him a lesson. With the protection of Great Law Hall, he won't die. Junior sister, the faster you deal with him, the more likely he won't even be injured. Lin Feng heard this and laughed in his heart, tisk tsk, isn't this brother a bit too dark? Well, it's just normal dark. Although he said this, he couldn't help but imagine a scene in his mind. With Luo Qinggu as the leader, his disciples each held a small hammer and hit a mole, and the mole's head popped up, but it looked like Chu Yang, hiss. The scene was too beautiful, he couldn't think about it anymore. Lin Feng shook his head and laughed. After all, what he said was just a joke, he didn't take it seriously. Children and grandchildren have their own blessings. If he was really just a lolicon, Lin Feng actually wouldn't interfere and let Luo Qinggu decide for herself. Lin Feng really wanted to stop him, the two of them wouldn't have the chance to meet at all. They had never met, and there was no news of them. How could they talk about impressions? How could they talk about friendship? Young man, you have big eyes and thick eyebrows. You're born with the aura of a prince. You should have more than this ability, right? Lin Feng looked at Chu Yang in the light and shadow illusion and laughed in his heart. Now let me see, do you only have a few sword talismans, or do you really have the inheritance of the Tianmen sword doctrine? Chu Yang walked out of the VIP room where the people of Beyond Heaven Mountain were. Those who didn't know him didn't think too much about him challenging Luo Qinggu. As the first-generation disciple of Xian Men that was personally taught by Lin Feng, it was true that Luo Qinggu and Li Yuanfang were the last to enter the sect, and their cultivation was the lowest. In the eyes of others, it was normal for Chu Yang to choose Luo Qinggu as his opponent. Many people were grateful to Chu Yang in their hearts. After all, after Luo Qinggu and Li Yuanfang entered the sect, they didn't fight much in public, even though they went out to train. Everyone was still curious about their true level. Calm down, calm down. Chu Yang was taking deep breaths, going through all the plans he had in his heart. Naturally, he couldn't just say that she was his destined wife and that he wouldn't marry anyone but her on their first official meeting. That would be pure madness. Step by step, step by step. I'll leave a good impression first. Chu Yang, who was always calm, felt his heart beating a little faster. He was in a daze. A good start is half the battle. I have to grasp this opportunity. As he was thinking, he suddenly felt his hair stand on end. Turning around, he saw Shi Tianhao looking at him with a smile. Both of you are sword cultivators, so you can use your swords in this battle. Shi Tianhao said with a smile. Chu Yang nodded. I understand. He looked at Shi Tianhao curiously and couldn't help but feel a little strange. That terrifying feeling just now had disappeared, as if he was hallucinating. Shi Tianhao continued, as the challenger, you can choose the environment for the battle. Chu Yang didn't hold back this time. He directly chose an environment that was as hot as fire, which wasn't beneficial to Luo Qinggu's purine body. This wasn't because he had any special thoughts, but because this was the only way to show his respect for Luo Qinggu. If they chose a neutral arena or one that was suitable for Luo Qinggu, then who would be the challenger? This kind of challenge, to put it bluntly, had the intention of a senior giving pointers to a junior. It was inherently unfair, so Lei Jie from the Lei family gave up the right to challenge. Chu Yang decided to slowly, so he naturally had to leave a good impression on Xianmen Tianzong and Luo Qinggu. Lowering his stance was the right thing to do. Moreover, his Beyond Heaven Mountain was originally attached to Xianmen Tianzong. Of course, just like when he fought with Dao Yuding, he had to show off his brilliance even if he lost. Whether it was by a hair's breadth or a crushing defeat, he had to show off his brilliance and leave a deep impression on the other party. What he was afraid of was being completely forgotten by others in the blink of an eye. That would be a true tragedy and a waste of effort. As Chu Yang was thinking, he saw a girl in purple appear in front of him, causing him to be slightly dazed. His facial features did not change in the slightest. It was the person in his memory. However, his red clothes had been replaced by the purple clothes of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. The long saber that he carried with him had turned into a pitch-black ice sword that radiated a cold aura. Seeing this ice sword, Chu Yang suddenly quivered and regained his senses. As a sword cultivator, his intuition told him that the black ice sword was dangerous. It was 3 feet long and crystal clear, as if it had been forged from pure black ice. There were no impurities in it, but the blade was pitch black and did not emit any sword light. Not only did the black ice blade not reflect light, but it was like a black hole that devoured all light that came into contact with it. As a result, the space where the blade was actually like a black curtain of the universe. Only endless cold air emanated from the blade, making one's heart palpitate. Chu Yang's control over his emotions was quite good. If Luo Qingwu had not been prepared and specially observed him, she would not have noticed any abnormalities. Fortunately, Master informed me in advance. The girl muttered in her heart, but she did not show it on her face. Holding the ice sword in her right hand, she smiled and said without the slightest hint of anger, "Fellow Chu, please." Chu Yang nodded and unsheathed his sword. The sword light spun in the air, appearing and disappearing. Other than his own Beyond Heaven's Mountain Sword principle, he could faintly see some sword intent of the Northwest Serene Heavenly Sword of the Heavenly Gates Great Nine Heavens Divine Sword. However, when the primordial spirit bigwigs in the All-Heaven Palace saw this, they all shook their heads slightly. It's just his personal understanding of the sword talisman and assimilated it into the Beyond Heaven's Mountain Sword principle. He did not inherit the Northwest Serene Heavenly Sword. Chu Yang said, "Please. Fellow Luo, give me some pointers." As he spoke, he stabbed his sword toward Luo Qingwu first. Just as he was thinking about what he should do next, all the hair on his body suddenly stood up and a great sense of danger rose in his heart. When he looked over, he saw a vast expanse of icy blue sword light erupting from Luo Qingwu's body. The bitingly cold air seemed to want to destroy the yin and yang of the world. Luo Qingwu made a sword art with her left hand and drew the profound clarity sword with her right. A pale white brilliance flowed within the dim icy blue sword light. In an instant, it turned into a clear and cold sword light, piercing through space and arriving in front of Chu Yang. The moment Chu Yang's sword light came into contact with the blue light of nirvanic extinction, it instantly froze into ice crystals. Then, it turned into dust and disappeared without a trace. Inside the All-Heaven Palace, Lin Daohan raised his eyebrows slightly. Yan Mingyue was also rather surprised. Absolute Yin energy. In the VIP room where the Spreading Law Hall's Taishu Temple cultivators were, Fan Xiefeng and the others were all dumbfounded. Then, they turned their heads to look at Qin Xingyu in unison. Qin Xingyu, who was usually calm and composed, also had a flash of shock in his eyes. It is indeed the absolute Yin energy. The entire All-Heaven Palace and Spreading Law Hall became restless for Luo Qingwu's stunning sword strike. Luo Qingwu comprehended the 8 trigram scripture of the Great Way of the Heavens and comprehended her sword Tao. The 5th sword of the innate 6 harmonies sword Wei, the 10 earths absolute Yin sword. Using her own pure Yin body as a catalyst, the Yin Qi was condensed and compressed to the extreme. The supreme nirvanic extinction transformed into the absolute Yin sword. The overbearing power of the acquired imitation of the absolute Yin Qi was even greater than Qin Xingyu's innate divine power. Combined with Luo Qingwu's own sword Tao, the killing was even sharper. It was independent of Mount Shu's sword Tao, causing everyone to raise their eyebrows. Facing this absolute sword strike, Chu Yang was dumbfounded. He did not expect Luo Qingwu to be so ferocious. The first move was a big move. She was completely different from the Qingwu in his memory. It was clearly the most ordinary exchange of moves. However, Luo Qingwu's momentum was clearly that she wanted to finish the battle in one move. She wanted to decide the winner in one move. This was completely different from what he had expected. Inside the All-Heaven Palace, Lin Feng laughed in his heart. "Young man, the way you opened the script is wrong." Chapter 703. Chu Yang's sword light was instantly destroyed by the peerlessly ferocious 10 Earth's absolute Yin sword. The sword in his soul trembled incessantly. Stimulated by Luo Qingwu's attack, it became restless and almost instinctively wanted to counterattack. Freeze! Chu Yang almost subconsciously controlled the sword in his soul to calm down. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, not to mention whether or not he could block Luo Qingwu's attack, if he were to use his true power, he would be completely unable to conceal it in front of Lin Feng and the others. In this moment of hesitation, Chu Yang stood dumbfoundedly on the spot. He didn't even have the time to dodge. He was directly rooted to the spot like a clay puppet, becoming a target for Luo Qingwu. He took the full brunt of the terrifying yin-yang annihilation sword light. The magic power restriction of the Great Law Hall was immediately activated, protecting Chu Yang. He didn't block or dodge. This sword attack from Luo Qinggu was a direct fatal attack. Thus, Chu Yang didn't even feel any pain before he was already teleported out of the arena. Chu Yang was stunned for a moment before he came back to his senses. He had already lost. The purple-clothed girl who was still in the arena had already retracted her sword light. She held the profound Che sword upside down and bowed towards Chu Yang. "Fellow Taoist Chu, thank you for letting me win." After saying that, her figure disappeared. A purple light flashed in the air and she was already teleported back to the All Heavens Great Hall. The black-clothed young man twisted his neck a little stiffly. He looked around and then lowered his head to look at his hands. He suddenly had the urge to look at the sky at a 45-degree angle and cry. He was instantly defeated by Luo Qinggu in a single move. It shouldn't be like this. Chu Yang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If he had also gone all out, this naturally wouldn't have been the result. Although he couldn't use his true strength, it still shouldn't have been such an embarrassing result. When he fought against Dao Yuding before, although he had held back his strength and lost, it wasn't to this extent. It was a pity that he had calculated all kinds of possible situations in his mind over and over again, taking one step at a time and thinking 3 steps ahead. He had all kinds of plans in place, and everything was intertwined with each other. He was fully prepared. The only thing he didn't expect was for Luo Qinggu to be so violent, using her strongest move right from the start. It was as if she was facing an opponent that she had to fight to the death and use all her strength to defeat. Chu Yang swore that Luo Qinggu's sword attack just now, let alone a golden elixir period cultivator, even a Yuanying period cultivator would have to be careful. If they were not careful, they would have to bear the consequences. Whether it's my appearance or my impression, no matter how you look at it, I'm just a little cultivator from beyond Heaven Mountain. I'm no match for you, the direct disciple of the Celestial Sect Master. Qinggu, do you really have to be like this? Chu Yang cried against the wind. He felt as if his balls were about to break. Previously, he was still saying that he wasn't afraid of losing, but he was afraid of losing in an ordinary manner, without any brilliance, leaving no impression on others, making them forget about him as soon as they turned around. From the looks of it now, what could be more humiliating than losing in a single move? Showing off one's elegance? He didn't even have the chance to make a move before he was knocked off the stage. How could he show off and leave an impression? Perhaps the opponent would feel surprised. How could this person be so weak? Because he was controlling the sword shadow in his soul, when Luo Qinggu's sword light landed on him, Chu Yang instead fell into a stagnant state. It was as if he was scared stiff by Luo Qinggu's sword. This impression really can't be said to be very good. Chu Yang smiled bitterly in his heart. Forget it, forget it. Since it's like this, Qinggu's performance was very dazzling. It was worth it. Just as Chu Yang thought, he had lost badly this time. It belonged to the standard category of losing in a humiliating way. Even his previous performance was covered with a stain. As the spectators in the Great Law Hall discussed, most of them began to doubt their previous judgment. They began to suspect that Chu Yang being able to reach this step was mostly due to luck. The people from beyond Heaven Mountain all lowered their heads and sighed. Although they were in a private room, they could feel the doubtful and even mocking gazes from the other forces. The Scarlet Cloud sect was gloating. The group of young cultivators felt as if they were drinking iced water during the hottest days of summer. They felt unusually happy. The gloominess from Chu Yang's continuous advancement to the 3rd stage was completely swept away. Some people looked at Chu Yang and could not help but speculate. Could it be that this kid is interested in the disciple of the Master of Celestial Gate? He was dazzled and stood dumbly on the spot like a puppet. He was hit by the sword light without any reaction. Who knows? But you have to say, this kid is very smart. If he can really marry the disciple of the Master of Celestial Gate, he will reach the heavens in a single step. He is not the only smart one. Do you think there are few people who have this kind of idea? There are a lot of people. It's just that everyone thinks it over and does not dare to act rashly. Look, isn't this the result of acting rashly? Yes, it's a good idea. Unfortunately, he is not strong enough. In the end, it is just wishful thinking. But speaking of which, the direct disciples of the Master of Celestial Gate are all amazing. This Luo Qingguo is no exception. Even a Yuanying stage ancestor would have to take that sword seriously. Honestly speaking, Chu Yang is not to be blamed. Indeed. Because of his performance just now, Chu Yang knew what other people would think of him. He didn't care about what other unrelated people thought of him. However, in the eyes of Luo Qingguo, his silly look just now might give her a bad impression of him as a lecher. This made Chu Yang a little puzzled. Sigh, I can only find another opportunity. But Qingguo is in the limelight this time. It is also a happy thing. Chu Yang walked unhurriedly and sighed in his heart, I have to think of a way to explain to sect leader Martial Uncle and Master. I have disappointed them this time. Even so, based on my previous performance, I have already helped Beyond Heaven Mountain to have a smoother journey. Qingguo. She should have returned to the All Heavens Hall by now, right? After the competition with Chu Yang ended, Luo Qingguo was transported back to the All Heavens Hall. The pitch-black and cold profound Che sword had already disappeared. Luo Qingguo smiled and bowed to the group of primordial spirit experts in the hall. Luo Qingguo was impetuous. I have embarrassed myself in front of all the seniors. After saying that, she returned to her seat and sat down. Yan Mingyue smiled and said, using pure yin to create extreme yin, it is truly exquisite. In the history of Taishu Temple, there were also descendants of pure yin bodies. Although they cultivated yin energy to the peak, there was no one who was able to use pure yin to create extreme yin. Luo Qingguo replied with a smile, Fairy Yan, you flatter me. Luo Qingguo only tried it under the guidance of Master. Fortunately, I have gained some results. On the main seat, Lin Feng smiled faintly and said, my disciple's sword Dao has just begun to form. I have embarrassed myself in front of all the fellow Taoists. Sword Venerable Tong Tian looked at Luo Qingguo and shook his head after a while. You are too kind. Master of the Celestial Gate is too polite. You are indeed a famous sword Dao expert. Although your sword Dao is different from your heaven-punishing sword Qi, it is also unique. Although it is immature, I can already foresee your future achievements. At this moment, the group of primordial spirit experts' gazes fell on Luo Qingguo and they all nodded to themselves. Although Chu Yang's defeat was a little unsightly, everyone present was a discerning person. Luo Qingguo's 10 Earths Absolute Yin sword was already enough to show disdain for all the junior cultivators who participated in this spell assembly. Not to mention defeating her, among the junior cultivators who participated in the spell assembly in the same realm, there were less than 10 who could survive this sword of hers. Moreover, most of these people were Xianmen Tianzong's own disciples. Previously, it was said that the Taishu Temple produced Qin Xinyu with the absolute yin body, which just happens to restrain this Luo Qingguo. Now, it seems that this is not the case at all. Many people sighed in their hearts. As expected of the personal disciple of the Celestial Gate's master. Although Xianmen Tianzong is not famous for his sword Dao, both the Celestial Gate's master and his disciples have top-notch sword Dao with them. At this moment, the young cultivators of the Heavenly Sword Sect, Sun Moon Sword Sect, Zanghai Sword Sect, Celerida's Sword Sect, and other Sword Dao sects felt bitter in their hearts. Let's not talk about the strength of Shu Mountain's sword cultivators, but Xianmen Tianzong's sword cultivators are also so strong. In the VIP room of Taishu Temple, Chen Xingyu's expression had already calmed down. Silently, he sat on his seat and looked at the void in a daze. The disciples of Taishu Temple beside him also did not speak. After a long time, Fan Xiefeng asked, Junior brother Chen, if it were you. Chen Xingyu revealed a gentle smile and said frankly, if it's just one sword, there's no problem. Fan Xiefeng and the others opened their mouths but did not continue asking. After a short pause, Fan Xiefeng suddenly asked, in our Taishu temple, there are also cultivators with pure yang body. Can they also simulate the power of burning sun like that Zhou Yunsong? Chen Xingyu muttered to himself and did not reply immediately. Suddenly, Lin Daohan's voice sounded in the VIP room, "It's possible, but it's very difficult." After this sentence, Lin Daohan did not say anything else. In the All Heavens Hall, Yan Mingyue turned to look at him and said telepathically, "Luo Qingguo can use the pure Yin body to create supreme destruction and transform the power of absolute Yin. On one hand, it's because of her pure Yin body's innate foundation. On the other hand, it's probably because of the Dao techniques that the master of Xianmen personally passed down." Lin Daohan first nodded and then shook his head. "Other than that, there should be other reasons. My preliminary guess is that he needs a treasured land of extreme yin and extreme cold, and some special treasures." Yan Mingyue's eyes flickered slightly. "There's a black ocean under Yujing Mountain. Maybe that's the treasured land of extreme yin and extreme cold, but what are the treasures?" Lin Daohan shook his head slowly. "I'm not sure. Could it be the pure Yin treasure that he obtained from the 9 glory sky crumbling array that Golden Rock Great Sage and Cheongqi Great Sage used to set up to suppress the position of the moon?" Yan Mingyue asked. Lin Daohan pondered for a while and still shook his head. "I'm afraid not." Yan Mingyue asked, "Eldest senior brother, will the temple interfere with the appearance of the 3 mountains of Yinghai this time?" Lin Daohan replied indifferently, "There's something strange happening in the vast land of infinite wilderness again. Master and the others are watching over there, while I have to pay attention to the movements of the reincarnation sect. Therefore, the temple will not interfere with the matter of Yinghai this time and will only observe quietly. The great Zhou dynasty has the geographical advantage and the initiative, but the appearance of the 3 mountains this time involves a lot of people. The final outcome is hard to predict." Lin Daohan paused for a while before saying softly, "Compared to Yinghai, the temple and I are more concerned about the stone flute and stone stairs that have fallen into the hands of the master of Xianmen's sect." Yan Mingyue was silent for a while before she asked, "I only know that the stone stairs are related to the stone flute that was lost previously. Eldest senior brother, what are the uses of these treasures?" Chapter 704. Yan Mingyue asked about the stone flute and the stone stairs. Lin Daohan didn't hide it from her even though their ideals and paths were different. Silently, he said, "The stone stairs and the stone flute are related to the celestial realm." "The celestial realm?" Yan Mingyue's usually calm face revealed a rare look of shock. "The legendary celestial realm beyond the 9 heavens imperial court of Taishu Temple, the supreme sacred ground? Hasn't it been sealed off since 10,000 years ago?" Lin Daohan said calmly, "That's right. 10,000 years ago, even the sages of Taishu Temple couldn't go to the celestial realm. However, the elders of the sect have been working hard to reopen the celestial realm and have gained a lot. The stone stairs and the stone flute are the fruits of our efforts over the years." Yan Mingyue frowned. "Those things are now in the hands of the celestial gate master. It doesn't matter." Lin Daohan said silently, "Master and Martial Uncle Kwang once suspected that the Celestial Gate Master has something to do with the Celestial Realm. However, after further investigation, we can be sure that the time is not right. Even if the things are in the hands of the Celestial Gate Master, they won't be of much use." Yan Mingyue glanced at Dao Master Tian Tan of the Reincarnation Sect, Shin Qifeng. She said softly, "What is Shin Qifeng thinking? What is the Reincarnation Sect thinking?" Lin Daohan shook his head slightly. "Let's wait and see." At this point, the Dharma assembly finally came to an end. Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and the others were responsible for greeting the guests before the Dharma assembly began. After the Dharma assembly ended, they were also responsible for seeing the guests off. Their disciples, Su Yunsheng, Li Xingfei, Lu Xiafeng, and the others, naturally had to continue running errands. Looking at Zhou Yunsong, Dao Yuding, Lin Tong, Huang Zhenting, and Su Yunsheng, the other cultivators from the other forces had mixed feelings. The current Xianmen Tianzong was no longer the new sect that only had Lin Feng and his disciples to support it. The new generation of inheritors had already begun to reveal their outstanding talents. Talented people emerged in large numbers, causing the world to raise their eyebrows. Perhaps their current cultivation base was still low, but they had already shown their profound talent and potential. Under the tutelage of Xianmen Tianzong, a bright future could already be expected. Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and the other personal disciples of Lin Feng were getting stronger and stronger. A new generation of super sects at the level of Holy Lands was already taking shape. In this Dharma assembly, some of the elders of the sects were actually speculating that Lin Feng might take advantage of the fact that most of his fellow Taoists were present to openly confer titles on his disciples and officially establish their names in the Divine Land. However, Lin Feng did not do so. Stonefeather and the other big shots thought about it and understood, this Mystic Gates master has such high aspirations. Lin Feng's thinking was very simple. Yuanying and the golden elixir were nothing. When the disciples of his sect had all reached the primordial soul realm, that would be the time when the world would truly be shaken. The Mystic Gates master is very confident. He thinks that all his disciples are primordial soul realm talents. The difficulty of reaching the primordial soul realm is more difficult than the sum of all the realms below the primordial soul realm. The primordial soul realm and those below the primordial soul realm are two completely different concepts. How many geniuses have failed before the primordial soul realm? Some people had doubts. However, when they thought about the talent and potential that Xiao Yan, Shi Tianhao, and the others had displayed, they suddenly felt that it did not seem very difficult to imagine. However, when they thought about this, the cultivators of the other forces immediately felt even more depressed. They only felt that there was a mountain of pressure in their hearts. At this moment, Xianmen Tianzong had already grown into an unshakable giant. To everyone in Xianmen Tianzong, this Dharma assembly was undoubtedly a successful conclusion. It could be said to be a harmonious assembly, an assembly that carried on the past and opened up a new path for the future. It was a successful assembly. Shen Qifeng brought the successor of the reincarnation sect's heavenly axiom down Yujing Mountain, left the Kunlun mountain range, and returned to his sect. Along the way, the entire team was silent. After all, the reincarnation sect's heavenly axioms trip to Kunlun Mountain was not very glorious. Before they even reached the place, a junior disciple had a conflict with a disciple of Xianmen Tianzong. In the end, the Dharma artifact of their Yuanying patriarch was taken away by Zhu Yi. They had lost face. During the Dharma assembly, Yang Likuan, the rising star that the sect had focused on nurturing, was beaten to a pulp by Zhou Yunsong. Shen Qifeng also lost the bet with Lin Feng. He also missed the last chance to regain his face. Instead, he lost a feather spirit vine. Naturally, the reincarnation sect did not know the significance of the feather spirit vine to Lin Feng. However, the feather spirit vine was also an extremely precious spiritual herb. It was difficult to cultivate, and there were very few of them. However, its medicinal effects were very strong, and it was an ingredient for many spiritual pills. The entire reincarnation sect's heavenly axiom team was filled with resentment. They felt that Shen Qifeng had been too weak when facing Xianmen Tianzong. However, Shen Qifeng was not only the leader of the team, but also a primordial spirit transformation cultivator. This made them angry, but they could not express it. Although the reincarnation sect had always been in endless internal strife, as one of the few colossi in the vast land of the divine continent, they were usually extremely unyielding. They were not afraid even when facing the Taishu Temple, Mount Shu Sword Sect, and the Great Zhou Dynasty. Shen Qifeng's expression was calm, and there was not a trace of emotion on his face. The emotional fluctuations of the people accompanying him were clearly displayed in his divine sense. Shen Qifeng did not care much about it, and still acted as if nothing had happened. The group returned to the paradise of the reincarnation sect's heavenly axiom. As soon as they arrived, Shen Qifeng was summoned by the sect's elders for questioning. The content was naturally about the trip to Kunlun Mountain. Under Shen Qifeng's leadership, the reincarnation sect's heavenly axiom had lost both formations and people. Without a doubt, Shen Qifeng's actions were not liked by most of the big shots. They felt that his response was too weak, and that he had disgraced the reincarnation sect's heavenly axiom. Even though Shen Qifeng was the personal disciple of the reincarnation sect's heavenly axiom sect leader, he was still criticized. Although the reincarnation sect has endless internal strife, we can always work together when facing external enemies. Therefore, even the other powerful forces do not dare to underestimate us. Shen Qifeng said calmly. However, Xianmen Tianzong is now obviously being pulled in by the infernal realm and human realm. The Azura realm, infernal realm, and human realm are all eager for us to become enemies with Xianmen Tianzong. This way, they can easily pull Xianmen Tianzong onto their boat. This time is different from the past. Our sect has already split up and become enemies with Xianmen Tianzong. This is very disadvantageous for the heavenly axiom. A heavenly axiom primordial spirit elder from the reincarnation sect snorted. Shen Qifeng, don't try to shirk your responsibility. I admit that Xianmen Tianzong is very powerful, and the Daoist Xianmen sect's leader, Lin Feng, is also a powerful person. However, Xianmen Tianzong is not without enemies. Taishu Temple and the Shushan Sword sect are not easy to deal with. Even if Xianmen Tianzong joins forces with the Great Qin and Great Zhou, they may not be a match for them. Moreover, Xianmen Tianzong and the Great Zhou dynasty may not be on the same page. Shen Qifeng answered, Uncle Master is right. However, the Daoist Xianmen sect's leader has already matured. In the Battle of West Hill City, the strength that he displayed can be counted on one hand in the current divine land. He doesn't have a creation Dharma treasure, but he can take on the Shushan immortal sky sword alone. In addition, he can activate the Dharma ending catastrophe with his own strength. Although I don't know what his limit is, he has at least completely passed the first tribulation. The primordial spirit elder snorted. That's right. I also admire the Daoist Xianmen sect's strength. However, don't forget, other than Jingyi, Taiyi, Qingyi, and Xianyi of the previous generation of elders of the Taishu Temple are still alive. Shen Qifeng smiled. I dare not forget. However, most of the attention of the Taishu Temple has always been on the vast land of Tianhuang. Just like their Haotian mirror, it has only been aimed at the divine land 3 times in its long history. Qifeng, judging from the words and actions of the Taishu Temple's Lin Daohan and Yan Mingyue, I don't think they will completely fall out with Xianmen Tianzong. The elder shook his head. You only know one thing, but not the other, a loud voice suddenly sounded. The debate ends here. Shen Qifeng bowed. Yes, Master. The other heavenly Dao elders of the reincarnation sect also quieted down, quietly waiting for their sect leader's instructions. Shi Tianfang, the reincarnation sect's heavenly Dao sect leader, said unhurriedly, Qifeng, although you have an idea, you did not think it through properly. Go to heavenly abyss and reflect on your mistakes. Shen Qifeng replied respectfully, Yes, Master. Then, he left and went to the reincarnation sect's heavenly Dao confinement and punishment facility. After entering heavenly abyss, Shen Qifeng sat in the void at the bottom of the void and endured the attacks of multiple tribulations. He was calm and smiled. Alright, there's nothing else for me to do. I just have to wait patiently. Unlike Shen Qifeng, who had already stayed out of the matter, another person was brimming with interest. Marquis Jing Huan looked at the monk in front of him and smiled. Master, you're finally thinking of making a move. The middle-aged monk smiled faintly. He was filled with wisdom and a sense of freedom, without the slightest trace of anger. I can't say that I'm thinking of doing something after a period of silence. However, I have a feeling that the Yingxi's 3 mountains have reappeared this time around. He smiled at Marquis Jing Huan. You definitely don't want to be left behind, so I'll help you this time. Marquis Jing Huan laughed and shook his head. Master, don't lie to me. The grand disciple of the Mystic Gates Master is your real target. Helping me is just along the way. The middle-aged monk didn't argue and only smiled faintly. Then do you need my help? Yes, of course I do. Marquis Jinghuan also said honestly and bluntly, "It's true that I'm very arrogant, but the appearance of the Yingxi's 3 mountains is no small matter. Let's not talk about the other factions first. The great Zhou dynasty views this as an operation that will determine its own nation's fate. I won't take it lightly. It's all thanks to Grandmaster's diagram that this marquis obtained the opportunity to enter the arena. How could I be willing to be a mere spectator?" The middle-aged monk smiled. "Since that's the case, let's meet in Yingxi." Marquis Jinghuan nodded and suddenly looked straight at the middle-aged monk. He asked, "It's naturally good to be able to meet Master. However, I wonder if Master is coming in his true body this time." The middle-aged monk smiled. "You'll know when we meet." He looked at the sky and sighed. The Master of the Mystic Gate will probably also come to Yingxi this time. However, I wonder what he's thinking. Marquis Jinghuan smiled. "Leave this matter to His Majesty the Emperor and the Marquis of Xuanji to think about. From what I know, the great Zhou dynasty has made thorough preparations this time. They're grandly welcoming the other people heading to Yingxi. If Xianmen Tianzong and the great Qin dynasty don't attract their attention, I'll have to spend a lot more effort." Chapter 705. Even though the Kunlun Mountain Assembly had ended, the situation in the Divine Land had become even more turbulent. Following the third opening ceremony of Xianmen Tianzong, the situation in the Divine Land that had been peaceful for 3 years was finally going to rise again. Regardless of whether it was big or small, all of the forces began to actively plan in hopes that they would be able to survive the coming tide and even reach a higher level. The sect master of Beyond Heaven's Mountain, Wu Yunliang, was naturally one of them. After the end of the assembly, he finally had the opportunity to personally see Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng only wanted to see him. The other people of Beyond Heaven's Mountain did not have the right to see him. Meng Chaoran was no exception. "Sect Master, this trip concerns the future of our Beyond Heaven's Mountain. Please, be careful." A middle-aged cultivator stood next to Wu Yunliang and spoke in a deep voice. He was the number 2 person of Beyond Heaven's Mountain, Li Baitao. Meng Chaoran, who was standing on the side, said, "This is something that has already been discussed. Second Martial Brother is thinking too much. With the position of the Master of Xianmen, he cannot have any excessive demands on our Beyond Heaven's Mountain." Li Baitao turned to look at Meng Chaoran and nodded without saying anything. Wu Yunliang said, "Martial Brother Meng is right. Everything will proceed according to the original plan." Li Baitao looked into Wu Yunliang's eyes and slowly said, "I wish Sect Master a speedy success." "I also hope so." After Wu Yunliang finished speaking, he entered the All Heavens Palace. Lin Feng was calmly sitting on the main seat of the palace. Behind him stood an expressionless young girl. Her hair was half black and half white, and she carried a huge sword case on her back. Seeing Wu Yunliang enter, Lin Feng smiled and said, "It seems that Sect Master Wu has already made a decision." Wu Yunliang solemnly bowed to Lin Feng. "Beyond Heaven's Mountain will only follow the Master of Xianmen. I only hope that when we move in the future, you can protect our entire Beyond Heaven's Mountain." Wu Yunliang will be very grateful. Lin Feng asked indifferently, "Sect leader Wu's meaning, is it the entire sect?" Wu Yunliang sighed, "I do not dare to have such wishful thinking. But I ask the Lord of the Celestial Sect to believe that the majority of the people of Beyond the Heavens Mountain are loyal to Xianmen Tianzong." Lin Feng chuckled and said, "In that case, you only need to remember that I, Xianmen Tianzong, will never disappoint those who have hope in me, Xianmen Tianzong, and those who offend me, Xianmen Tianzong, will be punished no matter how far away you are." I already understand Sect Master Wu's thoughts. As for the specifics, you can contact my disciple. Wu Yunliang respectfully said, "I will obey the order of the Master of the Profound Gate." After the conversation ended, Wu Yunliang walked out of the All Heavens Great Hall. Li Baitao, Meng Chaoran, and the others looked at him. Wu Yunliang's expression was calm, but there was a complicated look in his eyes. He met everyone's gaze and slowly nodded. Li Baitao sighed and said, "Now, we just need to wait patiently." His expression was somewhat relaxed, but there was also some worry. Just like Wu Yunliang, his gaze became quite complicated. Wu Yunliang did not say a word. His face was as calm as water. However, when he looked at Meng Chaoran and the other elders, a light flashed in his eyes. The expressions of Meng Chaoran and the others did not change at all. It was as if they did not notice the change in Wu Yunliang's gaze. However, Chu Yang, who was in the crowd, was the most familiar with Meng Chaoran. He could faintly feel that Meng Chaoran's taut heartstrings had loosened a little. "That's good, that's good." Chu Yang's expression did not change, but he let out a sigh of relief in his heart. "Next, I only hope that in the big collision, my Beyond the Heavens mountain can survive." He silently followed behind Meng Chaoran and the other elders. The group descended Yujing Mountain and left the territory of Xianmen Tianzong. Chu Yang could not help but turn his head to look at the empty space. He sighed in his heart, "Qing Wu, even though it was only a fleeting appearance, the purple figure in Yujing Mountain's Great Law Hall was completely the same as the red figure in his memory. In that memory, he did not know whether it was a dream or a memory from his previous life. After the destruction of Beyond the Heavens Mountain, he devoted his entire life to cultivation, to investigate the truth behind the destruction of Beyond the Heavens Mountain. He practiced the way of extinguishing emotion that he had inadvertently obtained from the Middle Ages. He first fell in love, then extinguished it. The object of his cultivation was that red figure. In fact, that beautiful girl already knew all of this. However, she was like a moth flying into a flame. In the end, she died without regret. Unfortunately, Chu Yang did not realize that he had truly extinguished his emotions until the moment he died in his memory. Regret, guilt, remorse, and pity, these emotions filled Chu Yang's heart at that time, leaving him with a lingering hatred. Chu Yang felt the mountain breeze blowing in the Kunlun Mountains and slowly closed his eyes. After a while, he opened them again and murmured to himself in a voice that only he could hear, "Whether it's a dream or a rebirth, since I have the chance to do it all over again, I will never make the same mistake again. Qing Gu, this time, it's my turn to follow you in life and death." The black-clothed youth's eyes regained clarity. Another figure appeared in his heart. A purple-clothed youth who looked as ordinary as an ordinary mortal. However, it was as if he could penetrate through the heavens and the earth. Chu Yang let out a long breath of impure air. "The master of the celestial sect of wonders has never appeared in my memory. Because of this reason, I have never dared to look him in the eye. I only hope that I can quickly leave and avoid him." He laughed bitterly. "In front of him, it seems like I have no secrets at all." Chu Yang had an intuition in his heart. Others might not have seen through the secret of the sword's shadow in his spirit, but Lin Feng knew. There was no basis. It was Chu Yang's own intuition. Moreover, Chu Yang could faintly feel that Lin Feng had helped him cover it up. That was why others did not notice anything. It was also because of Lin Feng's faint hint that some people who held the thought of killing wrongly, after weighing the pros and cons, finally chose not to offend Lin Feng for something that had no shadow at all. Looking at the master of the celestial sect of wonders, he only did it casually to solve my problem. He has no intention of monopolizing it. Chu Yang sighed and thought, "Speaking of which, it is still me who has received the kindness of the master of the celestial sect of wonders." Thinking of this, Chu Yang suddenly laughed. "Qing Gu has become the disciple of such an extraordinary person. She is truly a daughter of heaven. Now I am a toad lusting after swan meat. Oh, I have to work hard. Otherwise, there will be a time when I cry in the future." Chu Yang laughed in his heart. All the men in the divine land who are thinking about the disciple of the master of the celestial sect of wonders can forget about it. She is my wife. On Jade Capital Mountain, Lin Feng glanced at the empty space at the foot of the mountain, seemingly unintentionally. Then, he retracted his gaze and shook his head. He thought with interest, "So far, of the destined ones I have met, for have already become my disciples. Only this wild one is left. Young man, let me see how far you can grow. Lin Feng smiled, if you want to marry my disciple, it will depend on your own ability. I won't say much, but you still have a few more hurdles to pass. He smiled rather unscrupulously and looked at Luo Qinggu in front of him, as well as Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others beside the young girl. Luo Qinggu was a little baffled by his gaze. She couldn't help but lower her head to look at herself. Her clothes were not on the inside out. Master? Luo Qinggu asked tentatively. Lin Feng waved his hand at her. Today, you can be considered to have made a name for yourself. Although Yuan Fang didn't make a move, I think no one will look down on him. Today, the two of you can also start your own abodes. With that, Lin Feng smiled and clapped his hands. Just like when he created Burning Heaven Cliff, Qian Tian Hall, Fan Lin Residence, and the other cave abodes, he stripped Jade Capital Mountain's rocks and mysterious heavenly treasure tree branches, turning them into a 7-colored cloud bridge and mountain rocks. They were connected to Jade Capital Mountain itself, but also independent from it. Even Li Yuanfang, who had always been calm and steady, was overwhelmed with emotions at this moment. Luo Qinggu even cheered, Master, is this for me and senior brother Yuanfang? Lin Feng smiled, decorate according to your own will, I will assist you from the side. Just like how Xiao Yan and the others decorated their cave abodes, when Li Yuanfang and Luo Qinggu decorated their cave abodes, they also integrated their own understanding of Dao techniques into it. As a result, it was filled with their own personal style. With Lin Feng's help, Li Yuanfang caused many changes to the mountain rocks, integrating all the 8 trigrams into it. The 8 trigrams depended on each other and formed a huge array, surrounding and protecting a small house in the center. The house in the center itself wasn't very complicated. It was just a simple courtyard. It was just that every brick and tile of the house in the courtyard was neatly arranged without any deviation. All kinds of bricks and would seem to have been measured with the most precise ruler, without any flaws. Xiao Yan and the others looked at each other and laughed. Shi Tianhao shook his head and sighed, 6th senior brother is so tired of living. Li Yuanfang didn't argue. He just smiled and wrote the 3 words, River Pavilion, on the house's horizontal board. Next, Luo Qinggu also finished building her cave abode with a smile. She petrified Yujing Mountain into the shape of a cliff and built a small exquisite pavilion on the top of the cliff. It looked exquisite, but in fact, many parts of it were very casual. The black seawater from the Yin-Yang Sea below Yujing Mountain was drawn up the mountain by her and turned into a flowing spring and waterfall. The white mountain and black water formed a beautiful scenery. A mountain rock was erected outside the pavilion, and the 3 words, Light Dance Pavilion, were casually written on it. Xiao Yan smiled, little junior sister, you're even more mischievous than little junior brother. Luo Qinggu giggled, I've embarrassed myself in front of you, senior brothers. Shi Tianhao, who was unjustly implicated, protested, eldest senior brother, you're not much better than me. Li Yuanfang looked at Lin Feng and said, Master, does this mean that little junior sister and I are also going to open our abode and accept disciples? Lin Feng nodded and said with a smile, that's right. Those who pass the next examination to become true disciples can also choose you and Qinggu as their masters. At this time, Shi Tianhao suddenly said, by the way, Master, look at the cultivators of other sections. Not to mention those in the primordial soul stage, those in the Yuanying stage and golden elixir period all have honorific titles, but we don't have any. When we travel outside, we're not prestigious enough. Lin Feng pointed at his forehead and said, aren't you prestigious enough in the outside world now? As he said that, he smiled and said, besides, who said you don't have any? Lin Feng made a stroke in the air with his hand, and a wave of light suddenly appeared in the air in front of everyone. When they looked carefully, they could see that there were names written on it. Chapter 706. Light flashed in the air and a row of jade plaques appeared. Each jade plaque had a name carved on it. Xiao Yan and the rest went forward to take a look out of curiosity. There was only one jade plaque at the top. It was more than twice the size of the other jade plaques. However, there was only one word written on it. It was Ancestor. Below the Ancestor jade plaque, there were 8 smaller jade plaques. Each jade plaque had a name carved on it. Lin Feng chuckled. I didn't give you honorific titles when you formed the Golden Elixir and Yuanying. You didn't decide on a Taoist title when you entered the sect. It's not that I forgot. I'm just happy to see you make your own names in the outside world. Wouldn't it be more glorious to let the world give you a universally recognized honorific title? He pointed at the names on the jade plaques. There have always been Taoist titles in our sect for passing down our lineage. Lin Feng smiled. I'm the only one who doesn't have one. Because there was no need for it. In the sect, I was the ancestor, the teacher of all generations. There were no seniors or peers. Xiao Yan looked at the 8 jade tablets in the second row. On the rightmost jade tablet, the 2 words Xian Yan were written. He pointed at the 2 words and said with a smile, Master, this is me, right? Lin Feng nodded and smiled. That's right. As the first generation of the sect's founding disciples, you should use Xian Yan as your honorific title. Zhu Yi, Shi Tianhao and the rest smiled and bowed to Xiao Yan. Xian Yan, perfected Lord, we greet you. Xiao Yan smiled and looked at them. Come and take a look at yourselves. Zhu Yi took a step forward. According to the order, it should be his turn after Xiao Yan. As expected, he saw Xuani carved on the jade plaque on the left side of the Xianyan tablet. Lin Feng looked at him and smiled. Your mother named you, Yi, to gather the fate of the universe. I will wait for the day you become the son of Yi. Zhu Yi smiled and said, Disciple has been cultivating Tao techniques and doing research all these years, and I have some of my own insights. After I organize and edit them, I hope that I will be able to gain something. When the time comes, I will need Master's help in correcting them. Lin Feng nodded. Master will wait and see. Wang Lin stared at the name on the 3rd jade token. Xian. And I. The group of fellow disciples also looked at the 2 words curiously. Their gazes moved back and forth between the name and Wang Lin. Just like Wang Lin, a thoughtful expression appeared on their faces. Lin Feng smiled faintly and said, Think about this word carefully. It is closely related to your cultivation. Let's not talk about the long term. When you break through to the primordial soul realm in the future, it will bring you endless benefits. Wang Lin nodded seriously and replied, This disciple will follow Master's instructions. Shi Tianhao smiled and said, 3rd senior brother, only the bottom of your jade token has other extensions. Sure enough, including the Profound Flame jade token and the Profound Ease jade token, the bottom of the other 7 jade tokens were empty. Only under the jade token that was engraved with the 2 words, Xian and I, there was still a jade token that formed the 3rd row alone. On this jade token, the 2 words Tian Quan were carved. Yang Qing looked at the 2 words and asked, This is Martial Niece Yuding, right? Lin Feng smiled. Yes, Xian Men Tianzong, Jinren Tian Quan, and Dao Yuding. He smiled and said, The 2nd generation disciples of our sect use the word Tian as their title. Everyone nodded together, and Li Yuanfang said, This is only after they have at least formed the golden elixir, then they will be listed here. Lin Feng's left hand drew in the air again, and there was another flash of light and shadow, but it was a densely packed golden lamp. Lin Feng smiled and said, Every disciple of the sect, including the disciples who laid the foundation, will leave their natal lamp in the sect, but to leave their name on the jade token, it is only after they have formed the golden elixir. Luo Qinggu bowed to Wang Lin and said with a smile, Congratulations 3rd senior brother, congratulations Jinren Xian and I. Wang Lin shook his head and said with a smile, Since Yuding entered the sect, she has been in the late stage of foundation building, it is normal for her to be 1 step ahead. Everything will depend on the future. The disciples laughed and looked at the 2nd row of jade tokens again. They saw that on the left side of the Xian Ni token, the fourth jade token was carved with the two words Xian Lan. Yu Hongyan's lips moved slightly, and he bowed to Lin Feng. Xian Lan, thanks master. Shi Tianhao and Luo Qinggu all looked at her curiously, and Zhu Yi explained softly on the side, the former capital of Snow Gale Country was called Snow Mist City. It was named so because there was a snowy mountain outside the city, and it was called Mist Mountain. Yu Hongyan smiled, and the red eyebrows that were like thin swords also softened a lot. I grew up in Mist Mountain since I was a child, that is my hometown. The disciples all nodded silently, and they tacitly brought this topic over. Luo Qinggu shouted, look at fifth senior brother, look at fifth senior brothers, Xianming. Yang Qing looked at the two words Xianming, engraved on the fifth jade token, and he slowly pondered the meaning in his heart, the combination of yin and yang, the great way is mysterious, master has high hopes for me. Luo Qinggu smiled and said, now it seems that below fifth senior brother's jade token, a new jade token is most likely to appear. Yang Qing hurriedly waved his hand, and said with a smile, Yun Song is still far from that. Although he is fierce in fights of magical powers, it doesn't mean that he will improve his realm quickly. He still has a lot to learn. Xiao Yan smiled and said, I wonder who will become our sect's new golden elixir spiritual master after Tian Quan, and leave his name here. Li Yuanfang said silently, aside from Zhou Yunsong, Su Yunsheng, Lu Xiafeng, Li Xingfei, and Ing Luo Jia, Lin Tong, Zhuge Wanqiu, and Huang Zhenting still need to be polished. Shi Tianhao giggled and said, Senior brother Xian Luo, you are right. Among the 8 jade tokens in the second row, on the 6th jade token representing Li Yuanfang, the two words, Xian Luo, were engraved. Thinking about how Li Yuanfang had named his immortal's cave abode, He Luo Ju, the group of martial brothers all laughed. Master has seen through our thoughts very accurately. Li Yuanfang looked at the two words, Xian Luo, on the jade token, and his eyes moved. He solemnly bowed to Lin Feng, thank you, master. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head, but did not say anything. On the side, Luo Qingwu's gaze had already turned to the remaining 2 jade tokens, the 7th is Little Senior Brothers, oh, profound desolation. The last one is Xiao Wu's. Xiao Wu, look, profound che. Luo Qingwu smiled and looked at Lin Feng, master, when you gave Xiao Wu the profound che sword, it was already decided. Lin Feng smiled and said, what else do you think? Shi Tianhao muttered, master is the laziest one. Even naming things is so easy. Lin Feng looked at him, and the corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile, if I really want to save trouble, it would be the most convenient to engrave Tianhao on your jade token. What do you think? Shi Tianhao opened his mouth, then wouldn't I be a generation younger for no reason? Xiao Yan next to him laughed and said, Supreme Tianhao, I'm here to greet you. Ha 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 ha. Before he finished, he already could not help laughing. Yu Hongyan and Luo Qinggu also laughed non-stop. Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, Yang Qing, and Li Yuanfang could not help but smile. Shi Tianhao ignored Xiao Yan, curled his lips and said, profound desolation is still more pleasing to the ear. Lin Feng patted his head, silly boy, it's the same as your third senior brother's word Ni. This word, Huang, if you fully comprehend it will be closely related to your future cultivation. Do you really think your master is as unreliable as you? Today, when Shi Tianhao had really become an adult, even Xiao Yan and the others would not do this to him anymore. Only Lin Feng would still do this, just like when Shi Tianhao was young. Shi Tianhao did not mind this and said with a smile, I understand. Let's not talk about the long term first. The last formula of your disciple's black and yellow word formula is based on this character. I understand what you mean, master. Lin Feng nodded with relief, then pointed to the heavenly spring jade plate under Wang Lin's Xian Ni jade plate, and said to Wang Lin, originally, the Taoist name of your personal disciples should be decided by you, but the situation of heavenly spring is special, so I overstepped my authority. Wang Lin said thoughtfully, I don't mind, you must have your own considerations. I wonder if it has anything to do with Mr. Feng Liangji who joined our sect? Lin Feng nodded and said, yes, that's right. This is the agreement between me and him, and I should keep my promise. Tianqi sect. Shi Tianhao snorted, they only have themselves to blame. If that's the case, why not directly give martial niece Yuding the Taoist name of Tianqi? Lin Feng smiled, you will naturally understand in the future. When he said this, Shi Tianhao was startled. His eyes flashed, and he pondered, slowly nodding. At this time, Xiao Yan suddenly laughed, and everyone turned to look at him. Xiao Yan laughed and said, I think of the Xianlin Taoist of the Taishu Temple, he. Everyone laughed, and Zhu Yi shook his head and said, the title of Xianlin Taoist is because of his Taoist treasure, the Taishang Mystic Light Tablet, which is infinitely mysterious and can produce endless rain to wash away all evil, so he got the title of Xianlin Taoist. The Taishang Mystic Light Tablet was destroyed in the war between the two worlds, but it has become a natural habit, so everyone didn't change it, and still called him Xianlin Taoist. His Taoist name in the Taishu Temple is not Xianlin. Xiao Yan smiled, I also know about this, but it is still very interesting to think about it. Listening to the laughter of his disciples, Lin Feng stood at the side, smiling and not saying anything, but his eyes occasionally drifted to the 3 rows of jade tokens on the side, and fell on the second row of 8 jade tokens in the middle. The Taoist names he engraved on the jade tokens for Xiao Yan and the others were not orthodox names like Xianyan Immortal, Xuani Immortal, Xuani Immortal, Xianhuang Immortal, Xianlan Immortal, Xianming Immortal, Xianluo Immortal, or Xianche Immortal, something like a fire, deadly scholar, yellow spring butcher, stone mouth that doesn't eat human flesh, big insect mother, these were the good things in Lin Feng's heart. Now that his cultivation of Taoism was more profound, Lin Feng's heart was more lively, and less shackled. Although in front of others, he had to be a teacher, and show the demeanor of an expert, but in fact, the mischievous passion in his heart was rising. Lin Feng lowered his head and looked at his sage-like, sanctimonious appearance, and then looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. Life is really as lonely as snow, at the same time obtaining some things, I also lost a lot of fun. Chapter 707. Lin Feng put away the jade token and looked at the group of direct disciples in front of him, saying with a smile, it's still the same words. The things engraved here will be used for the internal inheritance of our sect. I hope that in the future, you can make a name for yourselves in the outside world and be recognized by the world. Xiao Yan and the others stopped smiling and bowed to Lin Feng together, we will not disappoint Master. We will do our best to carry on the past and open a way for the future to strengthen the prestige of the sect. Lin Feng smiled and waved his hand, I have always been very satisfied with all of you. He turned his gaze to the lights on the other side and said with a smile, I think your disciples have also made you very satisfied this time. Xiao Yan and the others laughed. The group looked at Yang Qing and said with a smile, the limelight has been stolen by 5th junior brother's disciple, Yun Song. Yang Qing chuckled and was a little embarrassed by the group of senior and junior brothers teasing. Xiao Yan sighed with a smile, 5th junior brother only has Yun Kong. Not only does he live up to expectations, but he also saves us a lot of trouble. The head disciple has been decided directly. Everyone smiled and said nothing. In fact, Zhou Yinsong's status as the head disciple of Yang Qing's faction had already been confirmed before the Dharma assembly. On one hand, it was indeed because he was the only child under Yang Qing's faction, but the more important reason was that he himself was truly outstanding. Otherwise, the position of head disciple in the Nirvana cave could have been left empty. It was not like Yang Qing would not accept any more disciples in the future. Moreover, Zhou Yunsong had already started to come into contact with the 8 trigrams of the Great Way when he advanced from the early stage to the middle stage of the foundation building realm. Although it was not a systematic cultivation, under Yang Qing's guidance, his foundation had already been laid. It was not Yang Qing's private decision, but Lin Feng had personally made the decision. Xiao Yan and the others were also aware of it. Speaking of which, it was slightly unfair to other direct disciples, but Zhou Yinsong's situation was too special. It was extremely dangerous for people with the burning yang physique to cultivate. A little carelessness would result in spontaneous combustion, instantly burning oneself to ashes, and it would be too late to save them. Without the support of a top Taoist technique that described the subtle great way, without the guidance of a meticulous senior, Zhou Yunsong would immediately be doomed. The Void Temple taught Qin Xingyu, and it was Lin Daohan who taught him the Void Yin-Yang Dao step by step. Lin Daohan paid close attention to him at all times, not daring to be careless in the slightest. Otherwise, Qin Xingyu would have frozen to death countless times over. Compared to the pure yang physique and the pure yin physique, in most cases, the burning yang physique and the absolute yin physique were much stronger in actual combat. However, the price was that during the cultivation process, every step was dangerous, and the danger was correspondingly much higher. Lin Feng looked at Yang Qing and said, "After this spell assembly, it will be another experience for Yunsong. Now, his foundation has basically been completely solidified. You can guide Yunsong to comprehensively cultivate the 8 trigrams of the Great Way and make the final preparations for forming his gold core." Yang Qing nodded. "Disciple understands." Lin Feng glanced at him and said with a smile, "Don't fall behind in your own cultivation. As your master, I know that you already have absolute confidence in passing the Yin Wind tribulation. Handing Yunsong over to you is not only for his own good, but also to sharpen your cultivation." Yang Qing smiled. "Master, rest assured, disciple will never dare to forget." Lin Feng then looked at Xiao Yan and the others. "After this spell assembly, each of you should have a clear understanding in your heart, right?" Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and the others looked at each other and smiled. Disciples burning Heaven Cliff's head disciple position will probably remain empty for a period of time. Xiao Yan was the first to say, "Tong Er's temperament is unstable, so she can't take the head disciple position. Moreover, disciple and Zhen Er also don't want her to shoulder such a heavy burden at such a young age." According to the result of their discussion, the head disciple usually had to shoulder the responsibility of guiding the successor disciples who entered later. After all, as their cultivations became higher and higher, it was fine if they didn't go into closed-door cultivation, but once they did, it would probably be a very long period of time. Even if they went into closed-door cultivation in the mysterious Heaven Eternal Light Paradise, the time that the outside world lost would not be short, not to mention that they often went out to travel. There's no need to talk about that little fatty Wu Wei. Although he has become much more mature as he grew older, no matter if it's temperament or cultivation, he can't take the position of head disciple. Xiao Yan shook his head and said, "Lu Xiaofeng is originally not bad, but he is too carefree and unrestrained." Before this spell assembly, he forcefully dragged Yunsong to challenge him, and lost a large part of his true fire of the sun that he painstakingly cultivated, so he didn't perform well in the spell assembly. Shi Tianhao said with a strange smile, "Eldest senior brother, you can't be specially punishing him because of this, right?" Xiao Yan said with a smile, "How is that possible? To be honest, his temperament is the most suitable for my taste, and he is also very loyal. Not only in my Burning Heaven Cliff, but even among the younger generation disciples in the sect, he is also very popular. However, this kind of temperament is not suitable for the position of head disciple, at least not now." Xiao Yan sighed, he still needs some training before he can bear the heavy responsibility. Otherwise, he has too much impulse, but not enough calmness, and likes to do as he pleases. He will be greedy for a moment of happiness, but he will not be able to foresee the long term. Sometimes, he will unknowingly ruin things. He said this, but it was also related to himself. Lu Xiaofeng's temperament was to his liking, and Xiao Yan was not just saying it casually. Xiao Yan himself was a person who liked freedom, and had a slightly wild temperament. Lin Feng had placed the responsibility of the head disciple on him, and after training for so many years, he had changed a lot compared to when he was young. He was still resolute and brave, wild and unrestrained, and would cry out for injustice. However, he was more meticulous in his actions, and he was brave but not reckless. Actually, you have your eyes on another target, so you are wavering, and can't make up your mind, right? Lin Feng looked at Xiao Yan and said with a smile at this moment. Xiao Yan grinned happily, hee, I can't hide anything from master. The other disciples were a little confused, and Zhu Yi's eyes flashed. He pointed at Xiao Yan and said with a smile, among the foundation disciples accepted this time, eldest senior brother has already taken a fancy to a good seedling? Xiao Yan did not deny it, and nodded, looking at his performance on the heart-reflecting stairs, he is indeed not bad. If he becomes a successor disciple, it's fine if he doesn't enter my sect, but if he enters my Fantianya, I have the intention to focus on nurturing him. In the future, the head disciple of my Fantianya will most likely be decided between him and Lu Xiaofeng. When he said this, Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, Yu Hongyan and the others thought for a while, and knew who he was talking about. Is it that youth called Tang Jun? That's right. Xiao Yan said, it's him. Shi Tianhao curled his lips, in terms of physique, he is indeed suitable to become eldest senior brother's disciple. Lin Feng looked at Zhu Yi, and Zhu Yi said, disciple's head disciple position of Qian Tian Hall will also be temporarily vacant. Yang Qing said softly, second senior brother, are you going to leave it for Tai, or are you going to wait for Yunxing to return? Tai was young Tai, and his cultivation level was only at the early stage of foundation building. He was unlucky in this spell assembly and directly ran into Huang Zhenting, who was at the late stage of foundation building, so he did not have much of a performance. He entered the sect late, and his current cultivation level was not high. When outsiders considered the head disciple position of Qian Tian Hall, they would not consider him as a candidate at all. But whether it was Zhu Yi himself, Xiao Yan, Yang Qing and the others, they all actually considered Yang Tai as a key candidate. Ying Luoza's cultivation level was not ordinary, and his battle prowess was great, but he was not a suitable candidate for the head disciple position. Even Ying Luoza himself had never been interested in becoming a head disciple. Zhu Yi answered, it is still too early to say. Let's see Tai's growth first. If there are no accidents, Tai will be the head disciple of Qian Tian Hall. Yu Hongyan sighed, if there was no great Zhou dynasty, Yunxing would be the best candidate for the head disciple position of Qian Tian Hall. Zhu Yi shook his head, if he took a wrong step, even if he could turn back, he would definitely miss out on many things. Xiao Yan asked, next, you're going to the great Zhou dynasty to help Yunxing get his family back. That's right. Zhu Yi said, once this matter is settled, I will set off. Then, without waiting for others to ask, Wang Lin calmly said, disciple's head disciple position of Mortal Forest House is temporarily vacant. There are other arrangements for Heavenly Spring, and Stargate still needs to be tempered. Hearing this, Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Wang Lin might seem cold and taciturn, but he was actually very thorough in his thinking. Previously, regarding Dao Yuding, when he mentioned that her situation was special and related to the two poles of the peak, Wang Lin understood his master's meaning. Everyone nodded, then Yu Hongyan said, disciple is Snow Wind Valley's head disciple, Zhao Huan. Shi Tianhao smiled, what if fourth senior sister has an even more outstanding disciple in the future? Yu Hongyan raised his sword-like red eyebrows and smiled, that will depend on little Huan himself. Yang Qing smiled, I don't have much to pick, just Yun Kong. His personality is actually not suitable to be a head disciple, but after he passes the hurdle and forms his gold core, his control over himself will rise to a new height, and it will be time for him to gain more experience. Shi Tianhao smiled, my desolate Heaven Valley's head disciple, Huang Zhenting. Wanqiu's personality is too soft, and little Huang's heart is indeed unstable right now, but it doesn't matter, with Wanqiu watching him, he won't make a big mess. The group of senior and junior brothers pointed at him and smiled, fortunately, little Huang isn't a devil incarnate like you. Lin Feng waved his hand, all right, each of you lead your true disciples back to your cave residences and carefully summarize the harvest from this spell assembly. Although the Spreading Law Hall's training field was not open during the spell exchange, there are still some lessons that we need to carefully review. Xiao Yan and the others nodded and left together. Silently, Lin Feng sat in the All-Heaven Great Hall, and the void in front of him suddenly shook slightly. A tall and handsome young man appeared in the great hall, wearing a violet robe with golden edges. He was tall and slender, with skin as white as a virgin, and eyebrows that were meticulously trimmed. With his appearance, a faint fragrance also wafted in the air. The corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitched, and he heard the young man's coquettish voice say, "Sect Master, long time no see, I really missed you." Such a flirtatious sissy, other than Miao Shihao, there was no other person. Late stage of Yuanying. Having known Miao Shihao for a long time, Lin Feng had more or less developed some immunity, directly ignoring the sissy. With a glance at Miao Shihao, he could see that the other had finally come out of closed-door cultivation for a long time, and had reached the peak of late stage of Yuanying, only half a step away from the primordial spirit realm. At the mention of this, Miao Shihao faintly sighed, "Brother Shihao, I originally wanted to come out of closed-door cultivation after achieving the primordial spirit realm, but who knew that I was just a little short." The worry on his face quickly disappeared, and a smile appeared on his face, but regarding this, "Brother Shihao, I already have a solution. This time, I came out of closed-door cultivation just in time." "Oh, that's good." Lin Feng nodded indifferently. "Wait, something seems wrong." Lin Feng narrowed his eyes slightly, "Just in time. What do you mean?" Chapter 708. Hearing the words "just in time," Lin Feng suddenly had a bad feeling. Then, he heard Miao Shihao say with a smile, "Sect Master, you should know, right? Maybe you've been busy recently and forgot. The day of the Penglai, Yingzhou, and Fangzhang Mountains appearance is coming soon." Ever since Tai Huang explored Yinghai in ancient times, the pattern of the appearance of the three mountains has been roughly fixed. Penglai, Yingzhou, and Fangzhang Mountains will appear at fixed intervals, and the difference won't be more than 3 years. It's almost time. A small file suddenly appeared in Miao Shihao's hand. He carefully trimmed his nails and said, "Brother Shihao, if I want to prove my essence soul, I'll need some help. With this, I'll be able to reach the essence soul stage easily. But this little thing is very rare and can't be found anywhere else. In the great Tianyuan world, it can only be found on Yingzhou Immortal Mountain, one of the 3 mountains of Yinghai. Therefore, I must definitely go to the 3 mountains appearance this time." He glanced at Lin Feng with his peach blossom eyes and said with a smile, "Sect Master, you must be interested in the 3 mountains of Yinghai, right?" The corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitched. I'm not interested in Yinghai anymore." Miao Shihao raised his eyebrows and instigated, "Sect Master, you can't think that way. Even if you don't want it, you can't just sit and watch Yinghai fall into the hands of other forces, right? Especially the great Zhou dynasty, which has been operating for many years. If they can completely control Yinghai, their strength will definitely rise to a higher level." Lin Feng laughed dryly. "I wish you success in this trip and find the rare treasure you need, Shihao." Miao Shihao smiled and said, "Let's go together. Sect Master, you can close your eyes and imagine it. Thousands of miles of the sea, the vast horizon, under such beautiful scenery, you and I traveling together. TSK, just thinking about it makes one yearn for it." "I don't think so at all." Lin Feng rolled his eyes inwardly and changed the topic. "Since you've come out of your closed-door training, there's something I want you to confirm for me. Although I have my doubts, my knowledge of the inner secrets of the Taishu Temple is still limited." As he spoke, Lin Feng stretched out his hand and waved it in the void. An illusion of light and shadow appeared. The scene in the illusory realm changed, recording the battle between Zhou Yunsong and Qin Xingyu in the 3rd stage of the communication conference. This illusion wasn't like the meticulous recording of the Grand Technique Hall's training ground, it was merely a reconstruction of the scene. Miao Shihao lazily glanced at them. Suddenly, his eyes flickered and the lazy smile on his face disappeared. His expression became serious. "Blazing yang physique, extreme yin physique." Miao Shihao mumbled to himself. His expression was somewhat startled as he stared at Zhou Yunsong and Qin Xingyu for a moment. Then, He laughed coldly and said, "Hee hee." However, after laughing coldly, Miao Shihao's expression became somewhat disappointed and lost. He was also somewhat absent-minded. At this moment, his entire temperament had changed. He was no longer effeminate. Although his temperament was still somewhat feminine, he had the appearance of a proper young man. It was just that he appeared melancholy. Brother Shihao, who had changed from a sissy to an artistic youth, stared at Zhou Yunsong and Chen Xingyu. After a while, he shook his head and turned to look at Lin Feng. "Sect Master, what do you suspect in your heart?" Miao Shihao's expression was somewhat melancholic and somewhat perplexed. His gaze became a little clearer as if he had just woken up from his memories. Lin Feng spoke of his guess. Miao Shihao nodded. "That's right. Sect Master, there's at least an 80% chance that your guess is correct." He couldn't help but turn his head to look at Zhou Yunsong and Chen Xingyu in the light and shadow illusion again. After a while, he said, "I'm afraid that there's a 99% chance that it's as you've guessed, Sect Master." Lin Feng put his hands behind his back and stared at Zhou Yunsong and Chen Xingyu. After a while, he said, "Can you see their origins?" Miao Shihao shook his head regretfully. Although the number is limited, the great heaven primal world has such a long history. There are still quite a few that can be counted. I can't be completely certain. Just look at the Taishu Temple. There's more than one in history. Since that's the case, then let's continue observing. Lin Feng nodded. With a thought, the light and shadow illusion disappeared. The scene before him disappeared. Miao Shihao was slightly absent-minded as if he was once again immersed in his memories. Lin Feng said silently, "I'll inform you if there's any update on this matter." Miao Shihao woke up. He shook his head slightly and his eyes became clear again. However, a lazy smile appeared on his face again. His temperament became enchanting again. The artistic youth's demeanor disappeared and he returned to his original sissy look. "Sect Master, let's continue to discuss about traveling to Yinghai together." Miao Shihao covered his mouth and smiled. Lin Feng acted as if he didn't hear him and said lightly, "If you're going overseas, you should nourish your supernatural power and get ready." Miao Shihao looked at him and laughed. "Sect Master, if you're not going, I'll miss out on a lot of fun." After saying that, he turned around and left. Lin Feng rolled his eyes. "I really don't want to go to Yinghai now." As he was thinking, Lin Feng suddenly thought of something. He said with a smile, "What day is it today? Those who are in seclusion have all come out." A deep voice came from outside the All-Heaven Great Hall. "Jia Yu and his wife greet Sect Master." Lin Feng smiled nonchalantly. "There's no need to be so polite. Come in." A high-spirited black man and a tall white-clothed woman walked into the Great Hall together. They were Black Dragon Jia Yu and his wife Jade Dragon White Light. Lin Feng glanced at Jia Yu. "Oh, not bad. You're already at the peak of mid-stage Demon King. You're just a step away from late-stage Demon King." Jia Yu hurriedly shook his head. "I'm useless. I've failed to advance to late-stage Demon King. I've disappointed Sect Master." Previously from Lin Feng, he obtained a whole set of bones left behind by a yellow dragon who achieved the indestructible demon soul realm. After refining and absorbing it, he very easily broke through to the middle stage of Demon King realm. But all the way to the peak of the middle stage of Demon King realm, he stagnated and fell into a bottleneck. The advanced demonic Beast King realm was already within his reach. However, he was still unable to break through the last piece of paper that he had yet to cross. This made the old black dragon somewhat depressed. He was 100% sure that if his wife, White Light, refined that set of Dragon King skeleton, she could definitely break through to late-stage Demon King. White Light looked at Jia Yu rather pitifully. Actually, regardless of whether it was Jia Yu or she herself, they both faintly sensed something in their hearts. Jia Yu falling into a bottleneck was mostly because of mental state issues, and the source of it was precisely White Light. Jiayu loved and feared his wife. When it came to cultivation, his wife was both his motivation and his pressure at the same time. The conflicting and complicated feelings within were really incomprehensible to outsiders. "Oh, it's fine." Lin Feng spread out his palm. Several resplendent crystals flickered in his palm. Waves of dragon might spread out, shaking the minds of Jiayu and White Light. "Dragon scale jade?" Jiayu blurted out. White Light also revealed a look of surprise. The resplendent crystals in front of them were the scales left behind by Dragon King who had achieved an indestructible demon soul. After thousands of years of accumulation in some rare mineral deposits, it was finally fused with the mineral deposits and then mined again. It contained the essence of the dragon race's bloodline and demonic power, and also perfectly integrated with the spiritual chi of other heavenly treasures. It was even more precious than the dragon scales of ordinary dragon kings. Especially for the dragon race, it was a cultivation treasure. Lin Feng held the dragon scale jade in his hand and said with a smile, "You were in closed-door cultivation before, so there are some things you don't know. 3 years ago, our sect occupied a medium-sized world in the vast 1,000 domains. I named it the Heaven Mystic Realm." Jiayu and White Light nodded together, although I'm not clear about the specific situation, but after coming out of closed-door cultivation, I heard the name mentioned by people in the sect. There are all kinds of resources in the Heaven Mystic Realm, and the reserves are quite abundant. Apart from our sect's own use, it is also used for trading with other forces. Lin Feng smiled and tossed the dragon scale jade in his hand to Jiayu. This is an item used by the Great Qin dynasty for trading. Jiayu and White Light suddenly understood. The Great Qin dynasty occupied the ancient Sky Dragon domain, which naturally had dragon scale jade accumulated. Sect. Sect Master, how can this be? Jiayu was overjoyed and wanted to accept the dragon scale jade. White Light beside him glared at him. The old dragon also reacted and said with some hesitation, "I can't accept a reward without doing anything. You just bestowed this old dragon with the Dragon King's skeleton." Lin Feng said indifferently, "You are loyal to our sect, I will naturally not treat you badly. Not only you, Nine Claude, Kuei Nyo and the others are also the same. You have been in closed-door cultivation all these years, and they have received a lot of benefits. This is the reward you deserve." Jiayu happily accepted the dragon scale jade. He glanced at White Light next to him, and made up his mind. He had already obtained the dragon bones, and these dragon scale jades naturally had to be given to his wife. "These dragon scale jades are all for you, I have other arrangements for White Light." Lin Feng seemed to see through the old black dragon's thoughts, and said, "These dragon scale jades are for you to use after you break through to the late Demon King stage." Jiayu and White Light were both taken aback. Lin Feng smiled, "Later, when you have successfully broken through to the late Demon King stage, I have an errand for you and your husband." Although it is an errand, it is also an opportunity. White Light hurriedly thanked him, but was also a little frightened. "Sect Master Lin, I..." "No need to say more, you will naturally understand when the time comes." Lin Feng waved his hand, interrupting her. White Light pondered for a moment, looked at his husband Jiayu, and finally nodded. Jiayu tentatively asked, "Sect Master, you just said that I have to break through to the late Demon King stage to do this errand?" "But I..." Lin Feng smiled, "I also know a thing or two about the reason why you are stuck in a bottleneck." Hearing him say so, Jiayu lowered his head in embarrassment, and White Light beside him was also a little embarrassed. Lin Feng said slowly, "Since I know, I will now point out a clear path for you. Just do as I say, and breaking through to the late Demon King stage is just around the corner." "Sect Master, what method?" Jiayu's eyes lit up, and White Light beside him also revealed an expectant expression, feeling happy that his husband could take a step further. Lin Feng pointed in the direction of Fentianya, and said indifferently, "Go find my eldest disciple, Xiao Yan, he has the ability to help you." Hearing that, Jiayu immediately said gratefully, "Jiayu will sacrifice his life to serve the sect." White Light was also grateful to Lin Feng. "My husband staying in Xianmen Tianzong is also a fortuitous encounter." Chapter 709. Filled with hope and joy, Jia Yu and his wife came to Burning Heaven Cliff to seek Xiao Yan's help. After stating the purpose of coming, Xiao Yan threw Jia Yu a medicinal bottle after giving him a glance, pursing his lips. "Pay attention to the dosage. Don't take too much each time. Because we took into account that you dragons have strong physiques, the medicinal effect is very fierce." Before coming, considering that Xiao Yan was in charge of the pill room and was also the #1 alchemy expert in Xianmen Tianzong, Jia Yu and his wife also roughly expected that the help Xiao Yan provided might come from medicinal pills. Could it be a type of barrier-breaking pill that helps to break through realm bottlenecks, greatly increasing the effect? Jia Yu was puzzled, "But I'm a dragon. Many human medicinal pills have no effect after taking them." While thinking in his heart, Jia Yu received the medicinal bottle and took a look at the label on the porcelain bottle. "I love a piece of wood. What's this?" Jia Yu stared with wide eyes, unable to make heads or tails of it, looking at Xiao Yan doubtfully. White Light beside him also felt baffled. Xiao Yan coughed dryly. "You'll know after you take it." Fellow Taoist White Light can also take it, but this medicine is limited to the two of you. Also, don't do it at my place and don't do it at other places on the mountain. Return to the quiet room you're staying at and close the door before taking it." Jia Yu said in bewilderment. After taking medicinal pills, this old dragon will definitely enter closed seclusion. "Elder Xiao, you don't need to specially remind me." Xiao Yan gave him a glance and said solemnly, "Although what was said just now is very important, what I'm going to say next is the most important point." Jia Yu and White Light exchanged glances and also straightened their expressions. "Say it." "No matter which one of you husband and wife takes the medicinal pill, the other person must be present at that time. Especially after taking the medicine, you husband and wife must stay together." Xiao Yan's expression was very solemn, but his tone was somewhat dry. At the same time, there mustn't be a third party present. Jia Yu and White Light were even more baffled. Following that, they asked Xiao Yan again, but the other party refused to say anything and directly sent the husband and wife pair away. Watching the two of them leave with their heads full of question marks, Xiao Yan instantly felt cold sweat on his back and a bitter taste in his mouth. Why does it feel so unreliable? While Xiao Yan was thinking, Shi Tianhao's shout was heard coming from the barren heaven valley from afar. "You glutton! You ate more than half of the swan and eye meat we just hunted. Why didn't you choke to death?" Is that Tunton back?" Xiao Yan was taken aback for a moment before he quickly reacted. In recent years, Tunton had spent more than half of his time in the Xianmen Tianzong world, giving the managers and disciples in Xianmen Tianzong a headache. This ferocious little foodie could be said to be very happy living there. All sorts of things, as long as they were rich in spirit qi, it did not matter if they were cold or raw. Regardless of whether they were alive or not, Tunton would open her mouth and gorge herself on them, eating till oil dripped from her mouth. Even for the recent Kunlun Mountain Dharma Assembly, Tunton did not return and instead lingered in the Xianmen world, enjoying herself to the point of forgetting home. However, Xiao Yan, Shi Tianhao and the rest were always on high alert. Every time Tunton returned to the mountain, the spirit beasts reared in the barren heaven valley and the pill rooms directly under Fentianya's jurisdiction were the areas where she wreaked havoc. A moment of carelessness and most of the spirit herbs, spirit beasts, and pills were eaten by Tunton. Without another word, Xiao Yan immediately headed back to the Sky Gold Pavilion. "Let's go back to the Sky Gold Pavilion and tidy up the pills there. Otherwise, Tunton will steal them all again. Her appetite is getting bigger and bigger." The desolate heaven valley was currently in chaos. Shi Tianhao grabbed Tunton by the collar and lifted her into the air as he bared his teeth and said, "You're really something. I didn't even have time to enjoy the swanee meat I just hunted, but you ate more than half of it in one bite." The Taotia's natural lifespan was much longer than that of humans. Hence, the past few years were not too long for Tunten, who had already formed a demon-nascent soul. She still looked like a little girl in human form and was at most 1 or 2 years older than Tunten. Lin Tong was able to practice the human race's cultivation arts after being nurtured by Lin Feng and Xiao Yan, but after taking human form, her appearance was at least similar to that of a human. As a result, she now looked even older than Tunten. Tunten snorted when Shi Tianhao grabbed her by the collar. When Shi Tianhao fought back, she swallowed more than half of his flesh. It came from a great saint stage Swanee. Even if Tunten activated the Taotai clan's swallow the heavens and devour the earth divine ability, it would still take some time to digest it. Tunten made a face at Shi Tianhao and said, "It doesn't taste good. If you like it, you can have the rest." With a swish, Shi Tianhao took out a huge bowl from somewhere. The mouth of the bowl seemed to be able to hold a river and was extremely large. He threw Tunten inside. "Nonsense, do you want to keep all the Swanee meat for yourself?" Shi Tianhao bared his teeth and sneered at her. "You ate my Swanee meat, so I'll have a taste of Taotai meat today." "I don't want to. I already said that my body is not the original flesh of a Taotai." Tunten waved its limbs and screamed as it tried to climb out of the bowl. Just as it reached the edge of the bowl, it was slapped down by Shi Tianhao. Shi Tianhao rubbed his chin and nodded. "You just swallowed the Swanee meat, so its demonic power and bloodline essence should not have dissipated. If I eat your meat now, I should be able to extract the essence of the Swanee's flesh and blood." Tunten also bared its teeth at him. "Stop dreaming. I've already digested the essence of the flesh and blood long ago." In the desolate sky valley, Huang Zhenting sat cross-legged on the ground and supported his head with his hands. He sighed. Aunt Tunten stole Master's food again. This time, Master put it in a big bowl. She will definitely suffer again. Why doesn't she learn her lesson? The desolate sky valley true disciples laughed and looked at him. Zhuge Wanqiu patted him on the shoulder. "You still have the face to talk about Aunt Tunten. Didn't you also forget the pain once the scar healed?" While the group was laughing and joking, a violent tremor suddenly came from a cave dwelling in Yujing Mountain, as if a battle had broken out. Tunten immediately forgot to bicker with Shi Tianhao. With a face full of curiosity, it almost jumped out of the bowl. "What happened? What happened?" The next moment, it was slapped back to the bottom of the bowl by Shi Tianhao. However, Shi Tianhao also looked over curiously. This feeling, it's at least 2 experts who have formed Yuanying or demon nascent are fighting. This aura fluctuation should be demonic aura. In the demonic aura, there is also some dragon aura. Shi Tianhao was really surprised this time. 2 members of the dragon clan are fighting. There are only Jia Yu and his wife in the dragon clan on Yujing Mountain. Could it be that they are fighting? Such violent aura fluctuations, it doesn't look like an ordinary exchange. They are really fighting. Tunten leaned on the edge of the bowl with half its body sticking out. Hearing this, it said disdainfully, "Jia Yu? Forget it. If the opponent is Big Sister White Light, would he dare to fight back? If he dares to fight back, he will only be beaten worse." After carefully sensing, Tunten also revealed a look of surprise. "That's not right. It really is in the direction of Jia Yu and Big Sister White Light's cave dwelling." Shi Tianhao was rather overjoyed. Looks like that old dragon Jia Yu has finally made up his mind to resist. It's really like what Master said. Where there is oppression, there will be resistance. After slapping Tunten back again, which was about to climb out of the bowl, Shi Tianhao smiled. "Let's go see how the battle is going." Shi Tianhao immediately ignored Tunten and flew out of desolate Heaven Valley. He came to Yujing Mountain and was about to go to Jia Yu and his wife's cave dwelling when he was stopped by Xiao Yan, who came out of Heavenly Gold Pavilion. "Cough cough, little junior brother, let's not go." Xiao Yan coughed dryly. "It's a matter between husband and wife, let's not get involved." Shi Tianhao asked curiously, "Eldest senior brother, do you know something?" Xiao Yan shook his head awkwardly. No, it's just a private matter, let's not get involved. As they spoke, the demonic power undulations at the cave dwelling gradually became less violent, but they were still entangled, as if the battle had fallen into a stalemate. As time passed, the demonic power undulations gradually weakened, but in the end, they suddenly became more violent, but soon calmed down. Tuntin and the others came to Xiao Yan and Shi Tianhao's side. Everyone looked curiously at Jia Yu and his wife's cave dwelling. Suddenly, a single demonic power undulation expanded, extremely vast. Tuntin, who was also from the demon race, was the first to react. This is the heaven and earth avatar formed from a mid-stage demon king advancing to a late-stage demon king? This demonic power undulation is not Big Sister White Light, but Jiayu, that old black dragon? Is there a mistake somewhere? Xiao Yan smacked his lips. As expected, it's a cultivation bottleneck caused by psychological factors. Eldest senior brother, what did you say? Shi Tianhao turned his head and asked. Xiao Yan said guiltily, I said I'm going to hide first. No, I mean I still have something to do and need to go to the All Heavens Great Hall to find my master. See you later. With that, Xiao Yan turned to leave, but before he could take a step, he heard an angry roar behind him. Xiao Yan, don't go. While speaking, two figures, one black and one white, had already rushed in front of Xiao Yan, Shi Tianhao, and the others. One was the black dragon Jiayu, who had just reached the advanced demon king realm and seemed to be glowing with youth. But at this moment, the expression on his face was not proud of his success, but a little embarrassed. The other was naturally his wife, Jade Dragon White Light. She was glaring fiercely at Xiao Yan, gnashing her teeth and saying, well, you actually gave this old loach that kind of thing, what are your intentions? Apart from occasionally appearing violent in front of Jiayu, White Light was very courteous in front of anyone else. Right now, this performance was enough to prove that she was exceptionally furious. Xiao Yan turned around with a bitter smile and spread his palms. Don't be angry, I'm just helping you guys too. I absolutely have no ill intentions. White Light said angrily, then you also can't use that kind of medicinal pill to swindle us husband and wife. Xiao Yan scratched his head rather vexedly and said helplessly, that, if I say that this is actually my master's idea, will you guys believe it? No way. This time, not just White Light, even Jiayu opened his mouth and said flatly without any hesitation, impossible. Xiao Yan immediately had an impulse to slam his head into Jade Capital Mountain beneath his feet. I knew it would be like this. Chapter 710. Xiao Yan wanted to cry but had no tears at this time because he suddenly remembered a very important matter. Back then, Lin Feng only verbally instructed him about this matter. There was no substantive thing, not even a pill formula. It was slowly researched out by Xiao Yan himself after the event. In other words, first disregarding whether others believed Lin Feng or him, even if he wanted to prove that this matter was incited by Lin Feng, he did not have any substantive evidence on hand either. At this moment, Jiayu and his wife in front of him even revealed looks of disdain when they looked at him. In their minds, Xiao Yan had done something bad himself and wanted to push the blame onto his master, making him appear even more shameless to the extreme. This discovery made Xiao Yan burst into tears even more. I can't clear my name even if I jump into the Yellow River this time. He turned his head to look at Shi Tianhao beside him and saw that Shi Tianhao had a blank expression, still completely unable to figure out the situation. Xiao Yan hung his head powerlessly. He had to shoulder this black pot even if he did not want to. At this moment, he had the urge to cry against the wind. I even said that little junior brother is becoming more and more black-hearted, becoming more and more like master. Looking at it now, little junior brother is as pure as a baby. He waved his hand dejectedly, forget it. I was impetuous. Please forgive me, husband and wife. Jiayu rubbed his hands at this time and moved in front of White Light, saying with a fawning smile, wife, you see, Elder Xiao has good intentions too. White Light's eyes immediately went wide, his gaze shifting from Xiaoyan's side to Jiayu, making Jiayu instantly short of breath. But he still muttered softly, "It's not just me who took the medicinal pill, you took it too, you still dare to say." White Light's face turned slightly red, becoming increasingly angry from embarrassment. Jiayu hurriedly raised his hands in surrender, not saying, "I won't say. I won't say." Jiayu took out the small bottle containing the medicinal pill and returned it to Xiao Yan embarrassedly, "That, Elder Xiao, it's better to return this thing to you." White Light said hatefully, "What are you still keeping it for? You should directly destroy it." Xiao Yan received the pill bottle and secretly used his supernatural power to transmit his voice to Jiayu. "The problem has been completely solved. I really don't have any bad intentions. Previously, you were stuck in a bottleneck and couldn't advance to the late-stage Demon King realm mainly because of a mental barrier. A large part of this mental barrier is because of your wife. Keeping your love for her and getting rid of your reverence for her will not only benefit your married life, but it will also benefit your cultivation. That's why you were able to break through the bottleneck and become a late-stage Demon King. But it wasn't because you were having sex." Jiayu's face turned red. "I know now, but don't worry, the problem has really been solved. Actually, it's just a window paper. Once it's broken this time, there won't be a problem in the future." Xiao Yan nodded and said, that's good. I've done a good deed." That's right. Although I was a little angry at being deceived, after thinking about it, I am still very grateful to you, Elder Xiao." The two of them laughed dryly, but no matter what, it was still a little awkward. Right at this moment, Xiao Yan suddenly felt his hand sink. It was Tunton pouncing over and grabbing the porcelain bottle containing the pills. Xiao Yan frowned and said, "What the hell are you doing?" Tunton cried out in dissatisfaction, "I want this pill too." Cough 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 cough. This earth-shattering sentence made Xiao Yan, Jiayu, and White Light, the three of them, nearly choked to death on their own saliva. "Nonsense, do you know what this is?" Xiao Yan did not know whether to laugh or cry. "I'm already in a mess here. Don't add more trouble for me." Tunton snorted in dissatisfaction. "Good stuff, why does this old black dragon have it but I don't?" Jiayu looked up at the sky and laughed. Good stuff. That's right, it's indeed good stuff, ugh." White Light nudged him with his elbow, causing Jiayu to be unable to say the rest of his words. White Light smiled bitterly and said to Tunton, "Tunton, this really isn't anything good." Tunton snorted and said, "I knew it. Big Sister White Light will protect him when it comes to the matter of that old black dragon. I really don't know what 'I love a piece of firewood' means, but I can tell that Jiayu, that guy, can break through the bottleneck from mid-stage demonic king to late-stage demonic king. It's all thanks to this pill." Xiao Yan's expression was strange, Jiayu's was embarrassed, and White Light's face was flushed red. The three of them looked at each other, and for a moment, they all had a feeling that what she said made a lot of sense and they were actually speechless. Tunton was pleased with himself and completely snatched the porcelain bottle containing the pills. "I also want to use this pill to break through." She made a face at Jiayu. "Even this old dragon who's afraid of his wife is a late-stage demonic king, but I'm still stuck at early-stage demonic king. How can this do? I was already a demonic king before my physical body was destroyed. At that time, this old dragon hadn't even formed a demonic nascent and was still a demonic commander. Due to the difference in bloodline, there would be a huge difference in cultivation between the demonic race and the demonic race. Some demonic races would reproduce. After the offspring were born, although they had great potential, they didn't have any demonic power or cultivation. They needed to cultivate step by step and gradually grow, and had nothing to do with the cultivation of their parents. But some demonic races, if their parents were experts with extremely high cultivation, then the offspring they gave birth to would be born very powerful demonic races. There was no lack of demonic commanders or even demonic kings when they were born. Tunton was one such case. Her father, the great Saint Tao Tai of the undying demonic soul second layer primordial true spirit level, and her mother, the purple wind Tao Tai demon king, gave birth to Tunten, which was an early stage demonic king. The uniqueness of the Tao Tai and other parts of the demonic race's bloodline inheritance seemed to be much more powerful than Shi Tianhao's innate foundation establishment. But all things in the world had their own balance. Tunten was powerful, but there were many difficulties that were hard to mention. First of all, it was extremely difficult for the demonic race to give birth to a bloodline and reproduce, even more difficult than the pure-blooded dragon race. Tunten's father and mother had only given birth to Tunten in their long lives of thousands or even tens of thousands of years. The population of the entire Tao Tai demon race was very small. Moreover, for an underage demonic race like Tunten, although she was innately powerful, it was extremely difficult for her to continue to cultivate and raise her cultivation level. She had to put in hundreds of times more effort than ordinary demonic race. This situation would only change after she attained the undying demonic soul stage. In this aspect, she was completely different from human race cultivators like Shi Tianhao. Therefore, some demonic race cultivators like Tunten would encounter a very awkward situation. For example, she was born a demon commander and could look down on her peers, but it was difficult to raise her cultivation level. She could only be a demon commander for her entire life, and could only watch helplessly as people who were originally inferior to her surpassed her. Although the lifespan of the demon race was generally longer than that of the human race, her lifespan was naturally relatively limited if she could not form a demon nascent. In the end, she could only watch as her lifespan came to an end, but she was still unable to form a nascent soul. The bitterness and despair she felt was self-evident. Among these innately powerful demon clans, there were many who ended up like this. Where there was gain, there was bound to be loss. As soon as she was born, she attained a height that others might not be able to reach even after many years of hard work. At the same time, she possessed outstanding strength at a young age. But the price she had to pay was that her future cultivation process would be hundreds of times more difficult. Whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, it all depended on one's luck in the future. If one could break through all the difficulties and finally achieve the immortal demon soul, then one would stand on the same starting line as the other demon race members who cultivated to the same level. However, Tunten was born as an initial demon king, which was a relatively rare situation in the Tao Tai race. Her starting point was much higher than her companions who were born as demon generals or demon commanders. But correspondingly, the difficulty for her to improve was also much higher. It could even be said that even if she had a huge amount of resources, without enough opportunities and luck, it would not be strange for her to be stuck at the initial demon king stage for the rest of her life. In a sense, her original physical body was destroyed, leaving behind only a remnant soul. Although it caused her strength to plummet, it also allowed her to break free from the shackles of fate to a certain extent. It was much easier for Tunten to raise her cultivation level compared to before her physical body was destroyed. Fortune and misfortune came hand in hand. This was also a kind of opportunity and luck. It was just that compared to other demonic race cultivators, it was much more difficult for Tunten to raise her cultivation level. Therefore, when Tunten saw that Jia Yu had advanced from the intermediate Demon King stage to the advanced Demon King stage, golden light immediately burst out from Tunten's eyes. Tunten was overjoyed as it snatched the medicine bottle. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly. I can only tell her the truth. Otherwise, when she really takes the medicine, that will really be the beginning of the nightmare. White Light's cheeks were so red that blood was about to drip out, while Jia Yu and Xiao Yan smiled bitterly. But there was no other way. In order to prevent Tunten from making a bigger mess, they could only go forward with Xiao Yan and secretly tell Tunten the truth through voice transmission. Tunten's eyes widened after listening, a little absent-minded. After a long while, she seemed to have just recovered, sweeping a glance at Xiao Yan and Jia Yu. I don't believe you. She looked at White Light and asked, Big Sister White Light, is what they said true? Xiao Yan and Jia Yu looked helplessly at White Light. White Light sighed and whispered to Tunten, Be good Tunten, this is really that kind of lowly thing. Tunten blinked its big eyes. Really? 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 Xiao Yan, Jiayu, White Light. Three people nodded their heads vigorously together. Who knew that? Tunton suddenly burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. That's great. That's really great. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly. You idiot, why don't you believe it? Tunton stopped laughing, but a proud smile still appeared on its face. I believe it. Even if I don't believe you, I believe Big Sister White Light. Xiao Yan and the others could not help but be baffled. Then why do you still? Tunton directly swallowed the entire porcelain bottle into its mouth, but it did not eat the elixir. Instead, it used its internal space to temporarily store the porcelain bottle. Then, it put its hands on its waist and said with a smile, although I also feel it's a pity that it's not a cultivation-raising elixir, this thing is even better than cultivation-raising elixir to me. Tunton waved a small fist and chuckled. With this I love a piece of firewood, Blackwater mysterious underworld, let's see how you can escape from my palm. Ha 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 ha. Xiao Yan, Jiayu, White Light. Chapter 711. Lin Feng, who was sitting peacefully in the All-Heaven Great Hall, was speechless as he watched Tunton laugh heartily. He didn't know what to say for a moment. You glutton. Lin Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he shook his head. He began to seriously consider whether he should confiscate the bottle of medicine from Tunton so that she wouldn't harm a certain young man of the mysterious underworld race in the future. Jiayu's advancement to a late-stage demon monarch and Tunton's return to the mountain were just a small interlude for Yujing Mountain and Xianmen Tianzong as a whole. On Lin Feng's side, he was preparing for other official matters. Xiao Yan and the others polished their cultivation techniques while teaching their disciples. Apart from the true disciples of their respective sects, they also had to take care of the foundation disciples on the Cloud Peak. The Celestial Sect of 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 the Celestial Sect. Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and the rest only open a forum and give a lecture every once in a while, answering questions and dispelling doubts of the disciples. Lin Feng himself was only responsible for teaching Xiao Yan and the other 7 true disciples. Occasionally, he would give lectures to the true disciples. But in these few days after the end of the Kunlun Mountain Spell Assembly, because the third opening ceremony had just been held, a large number of new disciples without any foundation entered the sect. So Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and the others personally asked about the cultivation of these foundational disciples during the period when they just entered the sect. During this process, they were actually conducting another round of probing to confirm the potential of the new disciples. The third opening ceremony, no matter if it's the overall quality or the number of good seedlings, the disciples that entered the sect all surpassed the previous 2 times. Xiao Yan said from the bottom of his heart, the top 2, their future accomplishments may not be lower than Yun Song's. Compared to the previous 2 opening ceremonies, the momentum Xianmen Tianzong had accumulated over the years, its reputation, and a bit of luck had created the third opening ceremony with the best quality of students in history. Yu Hongyan smiled and said, you mean Tang Jun and Han Yang, right? Shi Tianhao joked, eldest senior brother is mainly interested in that Tang Jun TSK, innate fire spirit body, azure flame emperor's body. I remember that in the entire history of the Tianyuan Great World, there was only one with this physique, right? It's something that happened in ancient times. Tang Jun and Han Yang were the 2 people with the best results in the heart-reflecting staircase test. Among them, Tang Jun was already at the early stage of foundation establishment, and had the highest cultivation among this batch of foundation establishment disciples. He was only 15 years old this year, and his potential was equally outstanding. Xiao Yan admitted frankly, this child's foundation is one thing, but his personality and will are also outstanding. I do have a good opinion of him. He paused for a moment, then continued, however, he seems to have other secrets. Master once mentioned that he might be related to the Lei family that has now joined the great Zhou dynasty. The brothers all nodded. They gathered on Yujing Mountain, and their gazes fell on the cloud peak. In the illusion of light and shadow in front of them, the figure of a young man who was not even 10 years old was projected. He had delicate features, and his gaze was extremely lively. Although he was still a child, one could already tell from his features that he would definitely grow up to be a handsome man. This young man was called Han Yang. His results on the heart-reflecting staircase were as outstanding as Tang Jun's, and far surpassed the others. When Zhu Yi had first picked him up and brought him back to Kunlun Mountain, he had been quite a legend. At that time, the little guy had begged for a living. He was intelligent and good at observation. Although he was young, he had a lot of wisdom. However, his personality was not very tactful. Although he had the ability to get along well with most people as long as he was willing, Han Yang's personality was a bit unruly and passive. He would only treat others well if others treated him well. Shi Tianhao smiled and said, "I don't know which of us he will choose to be his disciple in the end. I have a good opinion of this kid." The others all shouted at him together, "Come on, it's not enough to trick little Huang. You want to trick another one? Or perhaps little Huang has disappointed you, and you still want to raise a little demon king in disguise like you?" Shi Tianhao smiled and was not angry. He only looked at Zhu Yi and said, "Although he was brought back by second brother, I'm afraid he is not to your liking." Zhu Yi smiled faintly, "His nature is not bad. A piece of unpolished jade. He is also young. With good guidance and careful carving, he will definitely become a talent." Just as he spoke, Zhu Yi suddenly noticed Luo Qinggu to the side staring at Han Yang, lost in thought. "What's the matter, junior sister?" The others also noticed this. Luo Qinggu returned to her senses, saying somewhat hesitantly, "When I was teaching this batch of foundation disciples before, this Han Yang gave me a somewhat special feeling. How should I describe it? A very familiar feeling." The others looked at each other. Zhu Yi muttered to himself a moment before asking, "Junior sister's meaning is that you feel a talent for practicing the sword in this child?" Luo Qinggu nodded and answered, "What senior brother Zhu Yi said is correct. Xiao Wu indeed has this kind of feeling. This child might develop on the sword path in the future. Junior sister is too cunning." Shi Tianhao smiled and said, "You are hinting that you want this disciple." Luo Qinggu giggled, "No need to hint. Xiao Wu indeed feels that we are destined to be master and disciple. It just so happens that I don't have a disciple under me. This is the first time I open the door to accept a disciple. How can I get the first prize? I ask senior brothers to let me go. Xiao Wu thanks in advance." Xiao Yan smiled and said, "When the time comes, it will be the disciples who choose us first. Then it will be our turn to test them. If they don't choose you, there is no way." Luo Qinggu stuck out her tongue and made a face at Xiao Yan, "Senior brother Xiao Yan, don't bully Xiao Wu for being inexperienced. I know that when Yunfeng opens the altar to give lectures, everyone imperceptibly guides the chosen disciple to get close to them." The senior and junior brothers immediately laughed. Yang Qing smiled and looked at the group of foundation disciples on Yunfeng in the light and shadow illusion. This group of disciples has good aptitude. Besides Tang Jun and Han Yang, who are the most outstanding, the quality of the other seedlings is also very good. To the side, Wang Lin nodded and pointed at a few people, that woman, that pair of brother and sister, and that youth, they are all not bad. Li Yuanfang said, "Dream Red Building, Yi Xinhui, Yi Xinchuan, Tan Yunqing." Luo Qinggu smiled and said, "Zhou Yunsong, Su Yunsheng, and now there is Tan Yunqing. Ha, people who don't know would think that our next generation is the Yun generation." Yu Hongyan also smiled faintly. Yunsheng has repented from the wrong path, and Yunsong is shockingly talented. If this Tan Yunqing can also grow to the heights expected, our Xian Men Tianzong's second-generation disciples will have a San Yun, and that will be a beautiful story. Xiao Yan said, After this spell assembly, the true disciples with outstanding performance can also be officially accepted as disciples. At that time, there will be two standards for the true disciple assessment. Those who pass the higher standard can become the second-generation true disciple, and those who pass the lower standard can become the third-generation true disciple. Zhu Yi also said, in addition to sixth junior brother and junior sister, everyone should also decide on the disciple who can inherit the third generation. My Qian Tian Palace's assessment this time will be in Luo Jia. Xiao Yan said, I'm with Lu Xiafeng. Tian Quan. Zhao Huan. Zhuge Wanqiu. In the end, only Yang Qing was left. He shook his head. If Yun Song wants to accept a disciple, he should at least wait until he passes the stage of core formation and the Yin fire tribulation. Xiao Yan and the others nodded in agreement. Inside the All Heavens Great Hall, Lin Feng listened to the discussion of Xiao Yan and the others, and he couldn't help but smile. The little one's eyesight has also been trained. Different from the rough evaluation of Xiao Yan and the others, Lin Feng could see the specific data of the four innate talents and potential. The reason why they had such a great harvest this time was because Tang Jun and Han Yang were both monstrous geniuses with a total value of 30 points or more. The others such as Tan Yunqing, Meng Honglu, and the Yi siblings were also rare geniuses. Their harvest from the third opening of the mountain gate was almost equivalent to all of their previous harvests. Zhou Yunsong, Tang Jun, Han Yang, Huang Zhenting, and Yang Tai. Lin Feng thought to himself, the second generation of seeds is almost enough. The next talents will have to be reserved for the third generation. While thinking, he called for Xiao Yan and the others to gather in the All Heavens Great Hall. What do you plan to do next? Lin Feng asked when they met. Xiao Yan and the others looked at each other. Xiao Yan was the first to answer, other than teaching disciples, nothing special. Disciple will bring Yun Song to the great Zhou dynasty to get his sister back, Zhu Yi answered. Wang Lin thought for a while and said, disciple wants to enter the void battlefield again to find information about the underworld hall. The late-stage Yuanying cultivator who slaughtered his people was still at large. Yu Hongyan answered, disciple is going to go into seclusion to figure out Taoist techniques and polish magic power in preparation for forming the nascent soul. Yang Qing thought for a while and said, other than taking care of and teaching Yun Song, there is nothing special. Li Yuanfang answered, disciple is fine. Disciple is going to teach Yun Feng and lay the foundation for cultivation. Shi Tianhao no longer had a playful expression on his face. Disciple is going to enter the void battlefield with third senior brother. There has been no news of father and mother. Grandfather went to the void battlefield to look for them and hasn't returned for 3 years. Luo Qinggu answered, disciple is also fine. Disciple has some new understanding of using the 10 lands absolute Yin sword through the spell assembly this time. I need to think about it and organize it. Lin Feng nodded his head. I've told you guys before that the 3 mountains of Yingxi are about to appear. Even though there's a rough time, the exact time isn't certain. In order to avoid delays, those of you who have nothing to do right now might as well head to Yingxi first with me. You can also familiarize yourself with the environment and know your enemy. Little Linzi and Tianhao will go to the void battlefield and do what you want to do with peace of mind. It doesn't matter if you miss the trip to Yinghai. Anyway, you will get many good things, Lin Feng said. The others, including Wang Lin and Shi Tianhao, also laughed. Heng Yan can go into seclusion. While Xiao Wu is figuring out her own sword principle, you can take care of the foundation disciples and the inherited disciples for the time being. This is also an experience for you. Hearing that, Luo Qinggu immediately said, disciple will follow master's instructions. Lin Feng nodded and pointed at Xiao Yan, Yang Qing, and Li Yuanfang. You 3, pack up and get ready to go to Yinghai. Then, he looked at Zhu Yi. We will go with you. We will pass by the great Zhou dynasty on the way. We will settle Yunqing's matter first and then go to the seaside together. Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, Yang Qing, and Li Yuanfang nodded together. Disciple understands. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.